Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. Open mic number 146. Hello everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. This afternoon for me and morning for Doc. I know it's early in the morning for him and late at night for Dark Side and our European friends. So today we got a little bit something different. And it's these two interviews. Actually, there's three. I don't know if we'll get to all three. We might. These are not real long, but I suspect it's going to drive some conversation and debate. I've read through about half of or so of Kocourek's, maybe a little bit more, and I had to stop. I got so damn mad at some of the stuff he was saying. I was like, what? And then I've only read a little bit of Vogel's. Yeah.
They're both liars.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll tell you right up front.
Tell us what you really think.
They're fucking liars.
And then this other interview is Gregory Allen's Parole Officer in 1985. That's also interesting as well. So anyway, before we get rolling too far, let's let everyone say hello right quick. I know everyone knows who we are and so forth, but it's always nice to let everyone say hello, and we'll do a little intro to the live chatters, and then we'll get going. First, we have Cherie. I don't recall.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Open Mic.
Thanks, Cherie, and of course, Susan.
Hello, everyone. Panel chatters, lurkers. Hope you're all having a great Sunday.
And then, of course, Doc. What an episode yesterday of the Reading with the Crew. Whew.
Yes, and I like to say a big hello to everyone on the panel. Yeah, today's open mic is going to be very, very interesting. I'll tell you what, it's going to be very intriguing just to hear the so-called bullshit that comes out of Vogel and Kocourek's mouth. And yes, yesterday's Reading with the Crew was indeed very interesting. Yeah, awesome. Welcome everyone in the chat. Fantastic to be here.
Yep. Thanks, Doc. And then, Susan, can you say, give us a hello to everyone that's coming so far on the live chat?
Sure.
Pull this document up while you're doing that.
I see Under Your Scars. Welcome. Gloria is here. Hello, Gloria. Jazznaz Gaming is with us. Dr. Silkman, of course. Dark Side of the Moon. Hello, Dark Side. Angie Dickinson is here. Kelly McCallion is with us. Hello, Kelly. JD. Hi, JD. Joffrey III is with us today. Hello, Joffrey. Paul Ward has joined us. Hello, Paul. Mary Kopp. Hello, Mary. Justine J. Hello, Justine. TTM Fangirl is here. Ramel Rufin. That's a new name for me. Hello and welcome, Ramel. Did I say Paul Ward? Ian Rose. Hello, Ian. Sherry Lynn Pontillo is here. Hello, Sherry Lynn. Let's see. Katie did it. Hi, Katie did it. Andy B. Woohoo, Andy B. That's all I see so far, Jack.
Excellent. I wonder if Andy got his internet back, because he was busted. He broke it yesterday. Hopefully he did. Whatever.
Hopefully so, yeah.
Yep. All right, so just a brief rundown on these documents. So there was an exhibit in the Colburn v. Netflix case. It was as a motion and two exhibits that came with it, and this particular one was 122 pages long, and it's a number of interviews that Amy Lehmann and Deb Strauss did in their 2003 investigation that Peg L ordered after these Mark Rohrer, he went to him and Griesbach went to the DOJ and wanted the Penny Beerntsen case investigated, and so this document, it's got well, it's got a lot of different interviews actually, and it's got some interviews and information, not necessarily interviews, but meetings that didn't really make it into any of the depositions per se. Now, some of it they did. It's like, Deb Strauss and Amy Lehmann, they would, went to Manitowoc and had a meeting with Sheriff Peterson. Well, that may have made it to some part of it into the deposition, but this is a little bit different. It's got the actual report. I haven't read all of them. I've read several. It's really interesting what they did, and certainly there's a couple of things that are really interesting. Deb Strauss had a cassette that she returned. Actually, that didn't get returned until months later. It was like April of 2004. She returned this cassette to Manitowoc County Sheriff. I think his name is William Beck, but I know his last name is Beck. Don't know what's on this cassette at all. Just says she returned this cassette, whatever the hell it was. I don't know if it's an interview of some kind, but I would really like to get a copy of it, and I'm going to try to. So anyway, I picked definitely these two. These two definitely caught my eye, because as we all know, in the civil suit, these were upcoming right before Avery got arrested. So I thought they would be of some great interest here. So hopefully that kind of explains where these came from. We've had them actually for months. I knew they were here. I knew when we read the documents last fall. I'm sure this was one of them, and I just stuck a pin in it and just hadn't got back to it, and finally did. I don't remember how. I think there was like, let's see here. I can probably tell you. Out of no, wrong folder. Out of that one document, I ended up with 52 different PDF files. 52. A lot of these are 1 and 2, a couple pages at most. These are a little bit longer. The one for Kocourek here is it's 5 pages, so 4 pages. Oh, it probably starts down here, and then I think the one for Vogel is 4 pages. But the typing is and I apologize for the type. It's pretty terrible, but hey, there's nothing I can do about it. This is what we got, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to read, but we'll get to it. So this first interview, as you can see up here, was on 11/3. I take that back. Case title. I'm sorry, date. I'm taking it that's when she wrote it. But they interviewed them or him on October the 29th, 2003. So that would have been a month, 5.5 weeks, 6 weeks after Avery was released. Does that sound right, guys? He was released on
September 22nd, I think,
yeah.
or the 11th. Yeah,
No,
the
I
11th.
think it was the 11th, 2003.
It was. You're right.
Okay, so basically 6 weeks after Avery was released. And I'm gonna forewarn everyone. Actually, a good portion of all of these different interviews, there's writing in the margins. We'll try to decipher it, but I tell you right now, it's some pretty terrible writing. I really can't. I've tried. I've got some of it, but some of it I have no idea what they wrote. So with that said, I'd like to I'd like to ask my helpers, my fellow panel members here, if they want to kind of split the duty up and help all of us kind of help read a little bit. That way, not one person is kind of stuck with it. Because I'm sure we're going to have to work, because this is divided up into sections, and we're going to break and talk about different sections for sure. So with that said, is everybody okay with that? Doc and Susan, Sheree?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So this is October the 29th. I'll start this one out, and then I'll trade off, and I'll probably have you guys do a little more of the heavy lifting here. So, on October 29, 2003, Special Agents Amy Lehmann and Deb Strauss interviewed Thomas Kocourek, date of birth December 5th, 1945. The interview began at approximately 6 p.m. and took place at Kocourek's residence at 1601. It gives his address there. Also present during the interview was Elizabeth Blitz Kocourek, Tom Kocourek's wife. Kocourek is currently the executive director of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Manitowoc County, God Almighty, Inc. Kocourek was interviewed regarding the case of Stephen Avery. At the time of Avery's arrest, Kocourek was the sheriff of Manitowoc County. Kocourek provided the following information. When I know Sunshine Christine has commented quite a bit on it, but this guy being in charge of Big Brothers and Big Sisters, I can only hope that he's got his really good hat on and he's teaching these youngsters the right things, because he is not a good man. My opinion. Hey, what do we have here? We have a foul play addicted Joffrey.
Thank you, Joffrey.
Yep.
Fancy Joffrey being addicted, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, this next part, Susan, you want to take over and read this next paragraph?
Sure. Kocourek stated that regarding the crimes that were committed against Penny Beerntsen, those crimes were ones Kocourek was not normally directly involved with. The policy of the Sheriff's Department was to notify the sheriff in the event of a homicide or traffic fatality. In July of 1985, there was no money in the budget for pagers and portable radios for the 5 detectives that worked for the Sheriff's Department. The only 2 individuals that had these available to them were Kocourek and his chief deputy, who was either Vern Clement or Richard Andrews at the time. He can't even remember that. Kocourek stated that after the report came in about Beerntsen being attacked on the beach, dispatch attempted to locate a detective to come to the hospital and take the complaint and report. Kocourek said that the only detective that was located by dispatch was Al Kalanchik, and he said that he was not able to come in. Dispatch then contacted Kocourek, and because he had some previous criminal investigative experience, he went to the hospital. Prior to being elected sheriff, Kocourek worked as a detective for the Manitowoc Police Department.
Okay, just break right there just for a second, because I don't remember him being a detective. Maybe he was.
Wasn't it Kalanchik that did go to the hospital? Or was that somebody else?
From what I remember. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Gushry.
From what I remember, I thought it was Kalanchik. Wasn't he moving or doing something, and then he went after? But that's just a guess.
Yeah, I think it was him.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that was moving and went later.
Yeah, we just read his
deposition not that long ago.
Deposition, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that talked about. Well, he actually talked about a bunch of different things in his deposition. So, yeah, I think that's right.
And he did not say that he was not able to come in. He said he had to get rid of his trailer and all that stuff before he went.
Right, he was in the middle of moving. He just got everything packed up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also find it a little. Maybe I'm wrong, and I know that money was a little tight for a lot of departments back in the 80s, but for them to not be able to afford 5 radios for their detectives, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see what they're doing, right? They're covering all their bases.
Oh yeah,
and they're trying to come up with legitimate excuses as to why Sheriff Kocourek is there, right?
that's right.
So
That's
they've got
right.
Exactly.
so they've got all these fallback options that they can call upon, right? And it's quite clear that there were officers at the hospital, right? Dvorak was there, Kocourek was there, and there were other officers. So what they're trying to do is to come up with a legitimate reason why the sheriff himself is there, right? It's crazy.
That's exactly what I thought when I read it, Doc.
Yeah.
All right. I was looking to see if I saw anything in the chat, but I don't. All right, let's read a little bit more. Susan, you want to read a little bit more?
Sure. Once Kocourek got to the hospital, he spoke with Bill Beck, who was at the hospital already. Beck would have been an officer or sergeant at that time. Beck relayed that he was unable to locate any detectives, and he himself did not have any investigative background and so did not know how to proceed. Kocourek stated that Beerntsen was located in the emergency room of the hospital when he arrived, and he believed that he would have requested that the doctor on duty do a sexual assault workup on Beerntsen. Kocourek stated that Beerntsen was alert and talking while in the emergency room. Also present at the hospital was a female deputy, possible Judy Dvorak. Yeah, like he did know for sure. Kocourek stated that while Beerntsen was in the emergency room, other than asking for her verbal description of her attacker, there were no questions asked of her until she was moved to a private room. That is not what Penny says. Penny says while they were working on her,
Yep.
stitching her eye up, or calling that other surgeon or whatever doctor that had more experience with, that doctor was afraid to do it because the cut was so close to her eye.
That's right.
So he called somebody else. But Penny said while that was going on, they were talking to her
That's
all
right.
that time.
There's more stuff in here too that I was telling Doc earlier. I got really irritated reading what he's telling them, whether he recalls this precisely or not, or he's just trying to pacify the situation. He does other shit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Any other comments
Yeah.
before we continue? I'm sorry.
We should read Penny's statement after this to compare.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Kocourek stated that he wanted the verbal description of Beerntsen's attacker so that officers on the street could keep a lookout for a suspect. Kocourek stated that he could remember Beerntsen making the comment to him that while she was being attacked and she knew that she needed to remember what her assailant looked like. So Beerntsen made it a point to concentrate on her assailant's face and other descriptors.
Wow.
Can I just chime in?
Please.
Yeah.
What a lot of bullshit that is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You think about it, you are being attacked, right? You've lost control of your own faculties, and you trying to tell me that Penny Beerntsen now decided to play photographic camera and have a good look at her attacker? Yeah, I mean, this goes to show that these guys are not dealing with reality, and it also shows to me. And you're right, Jack 61. I've already got my blood pressure's already through the roof.
I told you.
You notice what they're doing? They're trying to come up with a justification, why the sheriff was there, and secondly, they're now going to focus on Penny Beerntsen making an error in identifying her attacker, despite paying attention to her attacker. Don't you want to save your life first?
I wouldn't be thinking about anything but trying to save my damn life. Period.
Yeah. Correct.
And, when it comes all down to it, she didn't do a very good job, did she? I mean, she picked
Not
out
a,
the wrong guy.
absolutely.
Well, yeah, but you can't actually blame Penny.
No,
Oh,
no,
I'm
As we
not at all. I
as
didn't mean it that way.
oh yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry, yeah, yes, correct.
yeah. What
well,
I mean to say is it didn't help her to identify him.
yeah,
Although, her description was more correct than it matched Gregory better than Stephen.
Yeah.
what do you hear some more of this? You're really gonna get fucking mad because it made me mad what he says here. But but as
Just the next line.
but as
Shit.
Susan said, they were questioning her before they moved her to the private room. That's what Penny
Yes.
says. And as far as
Yes.
identification, she had Kocourek in her ear, I'm sure, probably Dvorak and Vogel. I have no doubt. So anyway, yeah, continue on.
Kocourek believed that in July of 1985, he would have heard of Stephen Avery before, but probably had never met him or knew what he looked like.
Oh my God.
That is such bullshit.
Easy, Doc. Don't break anything.
This is not good. This is not good.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah, I might have heard of him, but I don't think I knew what he looked like. Come on.
Of course he did. All right. Um,
It was
yeah,
just January that the whole other deal happened
that's right.
of the same year.
That's right.
And
So
was that handled by the sheriff's department
absolutely,
or was that city? That was sheriff, yeah.
he absolutely knew who Stephen was. There's no doubt about it. It's just another lie. All right, read the next pack of lies. Go ahead.
Kocourek said that at the point that Beerntsen gave a verbal description of her assailant, no particular person came to mind. Kocourek said that Jean Couchet was called to complete a composite drawing, working with Beerntsen, and that it was after this was finished that someone in the room made a mention that the drawing looked like Avery.
Okay, I got to pause right here because I
Oh,
know
Jesus.
you remember, and Cherie and Doc. He's completely leaving out the fact that he had ordered up a bunch of photographs from the jail. Unless it's coming up there somewhere later that I haven't read on down, because like I said, I only read about half of this or so. I had to stop. I got so damn mad. He ordered up a bunch of photographs, and that was wasn't that Morris that brought them up, Doc? Do you remember?
The one of the jailers.
Yeah,
I
Morris.
can't remember. I can't remember all the fine detail. But yeah, clearly, what Kocourek is doing is he's leaving out a lot of very important points. Now, people got to remember, right? These interviews were conducted before the civil suit started. Is that right?
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The civil suit started much later. So you can see that these guys were already playing mind games. And they're leaving a lot of stuff out because they don't want the potential attorneys, if there is a civil suit, to point to anything in particular. But because Stephen's civil suit attorneys had these interviews in their hands, they could cross-check with others. And I reckon those comments must be from Stephen Avery's civil suit attorneys. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Because
Yep.
there are questions, and we'll try to. Actually, there's one here. I think we I don't know if we can decipher it or not, but so if you think about the dates of when this happened, so this was October, well, basically end of October 2003. And a lot of these interviews, they're in this fall 2003 time frame and the investigation. And I think the report from PEG, I want to say it came out in December or early the following year of 2004. It wasn't, I mean, it wasn't like real long. So
Yeah.
anyway, Avery filed his civil suit on, I'm going to hope I get this date right, October the 14th, 2004. So about roughly a year from this time frame right here. Not quite a year, but close enough. October 14th, 2004.
It's like everything he's leaving out is an embedded confession.
Sure.
Like he's just skirting. Someone in the room made a mention. I mean, come on.
That
He
looks
knows
like Stephen
exactly.
Avery. That looks like Stephen
Yeah.
Avery. Well, of course it does. He just fucking traced him. Come on, man.
But you have to admit what is very disturbing here to me is that these guys were already forward thinking, right?
Yeah.
They were getting ready. They knew that the hammer was going to fall, so they're being incredibly deceptive already. And this points out one important point, guys. I reckon that Culhane knew that pubic hair wasn't Stephen's very early on. And these guys were getting ready for a response because this looks like it's very, very rehearsed. This is not off the back. This looks pre-prepared.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it was definitely rehearsed, certainly in Kocourek's mind. And I would imagine that he and Vogel and probably a few others had a discussion, maybe even Kocourek, because Kocourek was still alive. Remember, guys, Kocourek was still alive at this time. Even if they had a conversation by phone, it really doesn't matter. Conversation's a conversation. So I agree. I totally agree. So in the margin here, he's got a circle there. Let me get my cursor. Right here.
Yeah, that after the composite was drawn.
Yeah. Right.
That somebody mentioned it looked like Stephen Avery. That's not the way it went.
No.
I don't believe.
No. That's right.
And we know it was Dvorak that said
right.
it.
That's correct. It was Dvorak that said it. And he's skirting
So
that whole thing.
What's his name has written not so, right?
Yep.
Stephen's lawyers, what's their name?
Glenn and Kelly.
Glenn and Kelly, yeah. And who was in the room, he asked. Kocourek just says, someone in the room made a mention that the drawing looked like Avery.
Nondescriptor. So he's just talking about Penny Beerntsen being violently attacked and noticing who was beating the crap out of her and trying to, do whatever. Now he's sitting here giving a nondescriptor. Oh, somebody in the room said that looks like Avery. Well, of course it does. He just sit there and traced him. There's no doubt about it.
And he couldn't remember if he was in the room. Oh, that's the next deal. Yeah, bullshit.
But the other important thing is that he's already deflecting. He's deflecting the blame to somebody else. And notice he mentioned someone in the room. And, Penny Beerntsen, she was making a conscious effort to determine who her attacker was. So already they're starting to point the finger at Penny for picking up the wrong attacker. They're already blaming the victim in a very subtle way. It's disgusting.
He left the door. He definitely left the door open to do that. Because it's such a it's a nondescriptor. Well, somebody in there said it. Well, how many people did you have in the fucking room, Tom? I mean, come on, man. All right. Any comments?
And that was also, that would have also been after he had gotten the photos from the jail, right?
That's right. And see, he completely left that time frame out. But yeah, absolutely, they already had the photos. That's right.
Yeah. He had those before Gene made his tracing.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he had the stack of photos in his jacket.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yep. Which included Stephen Avery.
He probably told the jailer, make sure you include Stephen Avery in that photo stack.
Yeah, because we can't forget, guys, this attack on Sandra Morse, that we all agree that Stephen should have gotten in trouble and been punished, and he was. We all agree with that. So there's no way that a sheriff like Kocourek wouldn't have had his nail gun out waiting to nail Stephen. There's no way.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't. I might have known who he was, but
Yeah,
I didn't know
whatever.
what he looked like or anything.
Sure.
Shit. Might have heard of him.
I'm telling you, what a damn liar.
God.
Okay. All right, Doc, you feel like reading a little bit?
Yes. Are we up to the point where it says Kocourek stated that he could not remember if he was in the room?
Yes. Yes, that's it.
and then following is the next paragraph.
Yep. No hassles. I've got it right in front of me, so that's cool. Okay. Kocourek stated that he could not remember if he was in the room with Couchet when he drew the composite drawing. When the composite drawing was completed, Kocourek could remember Couchet asking Beerntsen if the drawing looked like her assailant. Beerntsen responded that it did. It was at this point that Kocourek could remember someone saying that the drawing looked like Avery. Kocourek believed that this comment was made away from the victim. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh,
Following the composite drawing, a photo lineup was created. Kocourek said that several photographs from the jail were placed in a paper cutout so that the booking numbers were not visible. Kocourek believed that Beerntsen was shown one or two sheets of photographs. Kocourek stated that he worked with Couchet in showing the victim the photo lineup. Kocourek said that Beerntsen looked at the photographs and instantly picked Avery. Oh, guys, why do you make me do this?
Christ.
Picked out Avery out as her assailant. Kocourek was asked if Beerntsen at any time was shown an individual photograph of Avery prior to his photo being part of the photo lineup. Kocourek stated that she was not, and that doing that would defeat the purpose of having a photo lineup.
So was stating his name and tracing a picture of him.
Yeah. So basically, he is doing an embedded confession. He's telling you what I actually did, and then denied doing it.
Yeah.
Kocourek stated that in regards to the photo lineup, he relied on his jailers to come up with photographs as they were more familiar with individuals that were committing particular crimes.
Oh,
what's this up here? What's this in the margin here? Except Stephen Avery?
Yeah, except Stephen Avery. Yep.
And then what crimes? I remember they questioned this several times during the depositions.
Yep.
Sex-related crimes.
Yep.
Well, they kind of have to give them, they have to give them an outline, whoever's going to be pulling photos of what cases to look at, I guess.
No, they're actually supposed to just look like her description is what they're supposed to look like. Not because of any, particular crimes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what a photo lineup's for, is to pick them out.
Yep. I agree.
So you want people that look like her description.
Yeah, but quite clearly what he's implying here and insinuating here that, hey, the victim picked out Stephen Avery, had nothing to do with us. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
Don't blame us. We didn't do anything wrong. Do you want me to continue?
Yep.
Do you want me to continue?
Yep. Go to the next one.
Kocourek said that after Beerntsen identified Avery in the photo lineup, the decision was made to take Avery into custody. A squad car was dispatched to take Avery into custody. Kocourek stated that he did not know if he had spoken to the district attorney prior to making the decision to arrest Avery. Kocourek believed that Avery's uncle, Arland Avery, may have went along to help with the arrest, along with Ken Peterson, the current sheriff.
Of course he knows that they went. Of course he does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also he forgot to mention Mike Bushman was there too, with his dog Duke.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Stephen Avery was arrested and taken to the Manitowoc County Jail. Kocourek stated that he was told by one of the arresting officers that Avery made a comment during his arrest and made him look like he was guilty. Avery told his wife that he was being arrested for, quote, killing a woman. Kocourek stated that Avery had not been told anything about a woman being the victim prior to his arrest. After his arrest, samples of hair, fingernail scrapings, and other potential evidence were taken from Avery. Kocourek believed that Larry Conrad was the detective that interviewed Avery after his arrest. Avery denied his involvement in the assault against Beerntsen on that night and all the way through the court process. Yep.
Of course. Wasn't guilty. And he wasn't gonna
Yep.
there's more of these names that, a lot of people that are not really familiar with the 85 case are, they don't know these people, but Larry Conrad, of course, you know who he is, and Susan and Cherie. Larry Conrad was a detective in 1985. Jadowski, that's another one, I can't think of his first name. And
Leo
Jadowski, yep. And Fred Nicholson. And wasn't it Ospedale? Wasn't he the other one? The other detective? Ospedale?
The name's familiar.
Yeah, I think well, there were 5 of them, so anyway. Yeah, if you want, Doc, let's see, what's in the margin? What's in the margin here? I'm gonna zoom this up.
It says had gotten Stephen to admit to endangerment.
Huh.
Instead of him stating that was being arrested for killing a woman. I don't know why they've got that.
That would have been in the Morse case, I think.
Oh, I think that's saying Larry Conrad is the one that had gotten Stephen to admit to endangerment in his prior case, probably.
Could be.
All right, yeah, because remember he was interviewed after pointing the gun at his cousin. So it'd be very interesting to pull up who interviewed him again. Yep.
Yeah.
Would you like me to continue?
Please do.
Okay. Kocourek stated that sometime during that evening of the arrest, a detective had been contacted and it was possible it was Larry Conrad. It was at that point that Kocourek stated that he backed out of the investigation and had a limited role. Oh my!
He's such a liar! Oh my God!
I told you.
Let me get this right. So Kocourek happens to arrive on the scene, right? Kocourek is there when Penny Beerntsen picks Stephen Avery. Kocourek arrested Stephen. Job done. No wonder he backed out. The job was done.
Yeah.
Limited role. And all these other people we've heard depositions from that said that Kocourek took the lead role. They all said it.
Exactly.
Yep. I'll continue reading.
Yep, continue on.
Yeah. Kocourek was asked about the policies at the Sheriff's Department when it came to writing reports. Kocourek stated that all information obtained during an investigation was to be documented on a report. Kocourek readily admitted that some of the detectives were a little lax with this policy. You mean like Colburn writing reports? Kocourek was asked who the lead detective was in the Avery investigation. Kocourek stated that because he could not get a hold of an investigator at the onset of the crime, he started the investigation. Couchet and Conrad were then pulled in to help, and the investigation ended up being a team effort with no real lead detective. Kocourek was asked if he could remember what other detectives had a role in the investigation. Kocourek stated that it was possible other detectives helped out, as several were at the beach looking for physical evidence at the scene of the crime.
That's bullshit. There's always a lead detective. Always.
Yeah, and he was it. We all
That's
know
right.
it was Kocourek.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep. Kocourek was asked.
He's truly I'm sorry, Doc. He's truly minimizing his role here to them.
Correct.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Correct. But this, to me, guys, come on. Are you trying to tell me that Kocourek was able to put two and two together in such a short spate of time? He had rehearsed this. He had spoken to his other officers to get their story straight. This is just a script.
Oh,
Well,
from the
sure.
day Stephen got out, from the day they announced he was getting out. Hell yeah.
Yep. Oh God, yeah.
He's shaking in his boots.
Well, he would have been
Yep.
notified. What they did, I mean, if you guys remember what Strauss and Lehmann did, they gave calls around to these various people that they wanted to come talk to them. So even if they weren't necessarily prepared, which I'm sure Kocourek was, but they could get prepared. They had, they could say, oh, well, I can't do it this day. They'll give, he could set a date, a week later or 2 weeks
Oh
later.
hell yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry to interrupt.
This
boy.
was
Oh,
they
Go ahead.
started their what was the date of this? The end of October, right?
October 29th.
Yeah. They
But
started their investigation like the first part of October.
No, it
Or
was
the end
before
of
then.
the end of
No,
September.
yes, there's
Yeah,
interviews
it
in
was
here that are like the 22nd or the 24th. It's no, right. It
right.
was right after Avery got out and Rohrer and Greasewalk went to.
Yeah, it was
And
maybe 10 days or something. It was fast.
it was.
Yeah. So he knew this was coming for a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll continue.
Yep.
Kocourek was asked what position Jim Gospodarek held at that time. Kocourek stated that Gospodarek was a training officer at that time, and prior to that, held the position of detective. So it was possible that he was asked to assist at some point during the investigation. Kocourek was asked about the canvass of the beach area that was completed by his detectives at that time. Kocourek stated that he was sure a canvass had been completed, although he could not name which detectives would have assisted with it. Kocourek stated that for every contact made, there should have been interviews corresponding with that contact by the detectives. S.A. Strauss informed Kocourek that there were no reports done by detectives in regard to the canvass of the area that was done.
Oh my God.
Damn.
Kocourek responded that it was, quote, sloppy police work. Kocourek thought that Don Beltz, captain of the detectives, would have been the person to have coordinated the canvass. You notice how he's blaming somebody else
Well,
now?
of course, yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Yep.
Wasn't me.
Oh.
Not my
Oh.
responsibility.
We should call Kocourek
As-
Teflon Kocourek. Teflon, nothing sticks. Kocourek was. You want me to continue, Jack?
Please.
Kocourek was asked his relationship with the Beerntsen's. Kocourek stated that he knew the family from church and their children were the same ages. Kocourek said that they were not social friends. Kocourek was asked about his interest in the case. Kocourek stated that he did not have a real interest in the case for reasons other than he was one to start the investigation and wanted to know how it was going as it went along.
Well,
Notice
for
the
fuck's
parallel.
sake.
Notice the parallels with Sheriff Hagel and the Hallbuck family. Notice the parallels. How Pagel
Yep.
knew the Hallbucks but didn't know Teresa.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, his
Ko-
real interest in the case was Stephen Avery.
Gotcha.
Period.
Oh, gotcha. Kocourek remembered that the day after the arrest of Avery, a search warrant was obtained for the Avery house. Law enforcement was looking for clothing that Avery would have been wearing on the day that Beerntsen was assaulted. Kocourek stated that he might have gone to the house to assist with the search warrant. At the
Might
warrant,
have.
At the warrant, a leather jacket was located along with clothing that Avery said he was wearing the day of the assault. Isn't that interesting? Even the
Yep.
sheriff went down there.
Well, and he
Um,
mentioned that leather coat. Then, if I'm
correct.
remembering right, that was Arlen that said that he saw concrete dust on that jacket, and Kocourek told him to keep his mouth shut or whatever. He wanted to keep his job.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Oh, yeah.
not on the jacket. I think he saw dust either on Stephen or on his shirt.
Sure.
Stephen wasn't wearing a leather jacket in the middle of summer.
No,
But
not,
that's
Yeah,
what-
no, I'm
but-
sorry. Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. You're correct. It was a piece of clothing though that he saw concrete dust on. And he
Yeah.
mentioned it. Yeah.
But
Correct.
Gregory Allen did wear a leather jacket that day, which is weird.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
pretty damn weird. So.
He
Yeah.
is weird. Kocourek relayed that a live lineup was also organized and occurred in the room just across from his office in the sheriff's department, so he was able to observe it. Kocourek was asked if he could remember Beerntsen making any comments that Avery was the only person in the lineup that fit her description. Kocourek stated that he could not remember any comments like that from Beerntsen. How convenient, right? Kocourek said that some people who were in the lineup were concerned that they looked too much like Avery.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
for fuck's sake. We've all seen the lineup. Oh, God.
Didn't know he was a comedian too.
I have to
Oh,
read
God.
it again. I have to read it again. Sorry, guys. Kocourek said that some people who were in the lineup were concerned that they looked too much like. Isn't that the purpose of a lineup?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Oh,
they weren't even in jail. They were guys that worked in the office. I think there was a janitor and
yes. Yes.
somebody else.
Kocourek said that it was hard to find people for a lineup that had a beard in July. Kocourek was asked if he remembered Tom Bergner from the Manitowoc Police Department coming to him to talk about another possible suspect. Look at this. Kocourek stated he could not recall that happening.
Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. Because if he does admit to it, he's screwed.
Oh my God. Okay. Kocourek stated that there were other suspects that were looked at by the sheriff's department and cleared. One was a man from Two Rivers who Detective Conrad may have looked into. There may have also been another suspect out of Sheboygan. Kocourek could not remember how these individuals came to the attention of the sheriff's department. Kocourek stated that he did not do any of the follow-up on any suspects. Kocourek stated that any suspect name that the sheriff's department would have received would have been followed up on. Oh, yeah? This led Kocourek to believe that if Bergner would have come to him with another name, it would have been documented somewhere and would have been checked out as well. Oh my
Yeah.
Well, then how did Gregory Allen's information end up in Stephen Avery's file?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh
Uh-huh.
dear. That is he's a fucking dead set liar.
Oh
time.
my
What does
God.
it say right here? What does it say over here to the right? Can you all read that?
It says documented by him. In what format? Because he said
Oh
it would have been documented somewhere. Would have been
yeah.
checked out as well.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. Would you like me to continue or we get another reader?
Well, I don't know what your time frame is, Doc, but we can let
Oh,
Cherie read. Are you good to read?
I'm good to read. Yep. So far I'm
Yep.
good. I'm good.
Yep.
If you
Yep.
like to continue.
Yeah,
Okay.
continue on.
Kocourek stated that he never had many doubts of Avery being the assailant because Beerntsen was so certain and convincing that Avery was the person who assaulted. Oh my God.
Uh,
Victim blaming, victim shaming. Oh my God. Kocourek relayed that he did not know who Gregory Allen was and did not think that the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department knew who he was in 1985. Kocourek stated that to this day, he still does not know what Allen looks like.
Oh my God.
So here we have a serial sexual predator, and you're trying to tell me that the sheriff doesn't know who he is and who he looks like.
And remember that I don't remember the officer's name, but he was kind of in charge of the technology end of it. Their systems were linked with the cities in 1985. They shared information. There's no way he didn't know. There's no way. He's lying.
Oh boy. And don't we have that report in which Mike Bushman with his dog Duke were trying to look for Gregory Allen because of the potential sexual assault on a female victim?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my God. Okay. Kocourek, wait a minute. Kocourek relayed that Avery had a background that caused some concern. There was an incident in 1985 where a woman had filed a complaint against Avery for exposing himself in the front yard of his residence wearing nothing but a pair of shoes. Kocourek
This is what he remembers. Yeah.
Correct. Kocourek was asked if he was ever concerned that Avery was not the person who committed the crimes he was charged with. Kocourek stated that Avery was mainly convicted by the testimony of the victim, as they don't have DNA at that time like they do now. Kocourek stated that there was not a lot of physical evidence that would have been his main concern, and that would have been his main concern. Kocourek was asked if he could remember being contacted by Beerntsen, with Beerntsen relaying that she was contacted by the Manitowoc Police Department with the question of, did she think that she had the correct person? Kocourek stated that that did not ring a bell with him. The only telephone call that Kocourek could remember receiving from Beerntsen was when she thought one of the Avery family members was calling her house with veiled threats. Oh my God.
Wow.
Of course he doesn't remember it.
This is shocking. Kocourek stated that Avery had many alibi witnesses. However, there were so many statements that differed that they all looked like they were incompetent.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
There were time frame issues and issues with the lack of cement dust, and the cement truck driver said that someone other than Avery was running the cement spout. Kocourek was asked why he attended all the court hearings that took place. Kocourek stated that he was a witness for several hearings and was sequestered for those. He was also there more for the Beerntsen's benefit. Penny Beerntsen was concerned for her safety, and so Kocourek told her he would try to attend the hearings. In addition, Tom Beerntsen was making comments that if Avery was found not guilty, he may take matters into his own hands. Oh my God. So is Tom Beerntsen after Tom Kocourek now?
No,
Right?
he was trying to say Beerntsen would go after Avery
Yeah.
if he was found not guilty.
Yes, correct.
Oh,
correct.
I see what you're saying. He should be after Kocourek now.
He should
Yeah.
be after Kocourek now, right?
Yeah, he should.
Yeah.
Yep. Kocourek was asked if he could remember any of the detectives having concerns about the guilt of Avery. Kocourek stated he could not recall that at all. All right. Okay, continue. Kocourek was asked if he met more frequently with Denis Vogel during this investigation than he normally would have as sheriff. Kocourek stated that he only met with Vogel because he was originally involved with the investigation and was a witness. Kocourek stated that he would have also met with Vogel to discuss the live lineup. Kocourek was asked if Vogel ever needed encouragement or any pushing to prosecute Avery for the crimes. Kocourek stated that Vogel was an aggressive prosecutor and there was no problems getting Vogel to prosecute Avery.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Kocourek did. It's not my fault. It's not my fault, boss. I blame Penny, and I now blame Vogel for being an aggressive prosecutor.
That's right.
Oh, God. Okay. Kocourek was asked if there were any detectives that worked for him in 1985 that he did not get along with, or were there any conflicts. Kocourek stated that he got along with most detectives. However, he did have some problems with Al Kolanchik. Kocourek admitted that Kolanchik considered Kolanchik lazy and stated that he lacked motivation. Kocourek was asked who he had spoken with about the Avery case since Avery was released from prison. Kocourek stated that he met with Ken Peterson, the current sheriff, on another topic, and the Stephen Avery case came up. Kocourek spoke briefly with Don Belt about the case as Kocourek was dropping a gun off for repair, and Kocourek also spoke with Vogel during the week of October 19, 2003, after Vogel called him.
So basically, everybody.
Everyone, correct. Kocourek was asked if the way he reviewed reports changed for this investigation. Kocourek was told that special agents were informed that for this investigation, Kocourek insisted on viewing all reports prior to Belts receiving them, i.e., modifying them, right?
Yep.
Kocourek stated that nothing changed for this investigation. All detective reports went to Belts and then to Kocourek. Kocourek was asked, looking back, where he thought things went wrong with the investigation. Kocourek stated that he would like to see a photograph of Allen from that time period to see if there were similarities between Allen and Avery. How about looking at a fucking photograph of Allen in the first place, right?
Yep.
Yeah, how about the one you hid?
That's right. That's
right.
right. The one from the year before.
It
Kocourek
disappeared.
yes. Kocourek said that maybe he would have questioned the identity of the alleged assailant more. However, Beerntsen's identification was convincing to him, the district attorney, and the jury of 12. Kocourek stated that it would have been nice to have information on Allen. However, the sheriff's department and the police department did not have joint records or joint dispatch in 1985, where today they do.
They did too. That's a lie.
Yeah, they did.
If you notice, Peg Lockenschlatter cut and paste these statements into her report. The same things that Kocourek said. Kocourek was asked if he presented photographs of Beerntsen showing her injuries after her attack to the Manitowoc County Board, using the photographs as a way to request more money. Kocourek stated that he did not recall that ever happening. The interview of Kocourek was terminated at approximately 7:30 p.m.
I don't remember that last part, but I wouldn't put it past him for doing so.
Yep. Oh, I do. I remember it, and he did do that. Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't recall it. He's got one.
Nope.
I can imagine him during a deposition. Everybody, Doc, and
I don't recall.
I don't recall. I just don't recall.
Yeah, correct. He would have done a Mark Rohrer. He would have done a Mark Rohrer.
He probably would have broke Mark Rohrer's record.
Yeah.
Wow. I told you that one's going to be difficult. I knew it would be.
That was a shocker.
Such a liar.
He is. And so much that he just can't remember. And
it tells you everything you need to know about him, really.
The number of things that he left out that are pertinent to the events of the case. So.
Yep.
All right.
So, in other words, the way I summarize it, if you want to get to the truth of the matter, you have to ignore Tom Kocourek completely. You're not going to get to the truth. You're not going to get to the truth from him.
No, not at all.
Nope.
He completely lied about Bergner, and I can't remember the other city official that went with him to talk to him.
He lied about so many things.
He did.
Good Lord.
He knew about Allen. There's no doubt about it.
Of course he did. He's the one that hired him.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Oh, for the 85 case?
Yeah. To attack Penny.
Well, if that ever came out, then Tom Beerntsen might really come after him. If that turned out to be true, holy crap.
Well, to me, if the sheriff could lie out of his ass like this, directly speaking to an investigator, what makes you think that people didn't lie in the 2005 murder case?
That's right.
Right.
And I reckon they would have lied straight to attorneys, lawyers, anybody else. If they did it back then, in 1985, they would have definitely done it again in 2005. You can't trust them. They've got zero integrity. Zero.
And for everyone out there, I know Doc believes this, and probably Susan and Cherie, but this is all connected. From the 85 case.
Oh, hell yes.
All the way through. They're all connected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The lawsuit was over the 85 case.
Yes. That's right. Because
totally connected.
Because of this whitewashing that's going on, that happened right here in these investigative reports.
Yeah.
And Peg says, "Oh, no, everything was fine. Everything's hunky dory. Everything was happening on the up and up. No problem, guys." That's the reason that they refiled the lawsuit.
Yeah, which is interesting because if you follow the logic, they didn't get it right in 1985, as in Stephen Avery got out. He got exonerated, but they made sure in 2005 that he doesn't see the light of day again.
Yeah.
Right? They had practice. And this time, what did they use? They used DNA against him.
Yep. And then they
DNA.
used it,
And
then they used it
I
all up so they
believe
can't be retested.
I
Correct.
believe that's the reason why her body was burned, because to prevent one
Any-
little hair.
Anybody testing it?
Yep.
Yep. Correct.
That's right. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad. That only took us a little over an hour, so not too bad on that one. This next one, of course, is Denis Vogel. And it also, well, this one happened on the, looks like the 28th, the day before. But the reason I put these in the order that I did is because Kocourek was supposed to be the first up to give his deposition, and then 5 days later, I think, was supposed to be Vogel. The 10th I think it's supposed to be the 10th and the 15th, if I'm remembering correctly, something of that nature. So, which I personally, again, I feel was a huge mistake of Glenn and Kelly not to push forward. I know they were worried about Stephen and what these people may do to him, but and I want to tell you, I hate to accuse any kind of a law enforcement agency of committing any kind of crime like that, but I think they were truly desperate at that point, and they may have done something to Stephen. It's possible. I don't know that, but just throwing it out there.
I know I'm being a bit nefarious here, but do you think the attorneys themselves felt threatened on their own safety?
I think they might have.
Because if this is what they did to Stephen, I don't think they'll think twice to make things uncomfortable for his civil suit attorneys.
I mean, Glenn and Kelly
Yeah.
were pretty established, so that they probably would have, thought about it a couple of times, because I'm sure Glenn and Kelly had a lot of legal friends in in their arena. But they gave
doubt.
they gave them such a huge runaround on November 9th. Well, after they arrested Stephen, they hit him. They wouldn't let them talk to him, and that's such a problem for me.
Illegal.
Well,
Yeah.
it is to me. They hem-hawed and flim-flammed around until, later way up in the damn evening. So I don't know, Doc. Maybe. I mean, they may have felt threatened.
But can I just make a very interesting point?
Please.
Kocourek made the observation about Stephen Avery's alibi witnesses, and he said that they were inconsistent.
Yep.
And yet, don't you find it rather interesting that he accepted the eyewitness identification from Penny, who got beaten around the eyes so badly that she could not read the report to sign it?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
yeah, when she kicked him in the balls, he beat the hell out of her.
Yep, correct. So you had 16 alibi witnesses with good eyesight that could not be trusted, and yet he trusted the eyewitness identification of Penny, who had been beaten around her face and had swollen eyes.
She had
and was extremely traumatized.
Yes.
Correct. That's remarkable. Remarkable.
And hypocritical.
Yep.
So
and then he's saying something about the timing and all of that. Well, yeah, the timing didn't work out, Kocourek.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right, let's move forward if you guys are ready. I mean, I'm glad to, if you guys got some more to add about Kocourek, I'm glad to talk about it. But if not, let's move on to Mr. Vogel.
Just before you do,
Yep.
it goes to show, Jack, that at some stage we need to really unpack what happened in 1985. As in, we need to get Greaseback's book and unpack it.
Yeah.
James Crane has an interesting point. He says, I think Greaseback was threatened indirectly, and that's why he did a 180.
He might have been.
He did do a 180.
He did.
And so did the Innocence Project. What was that guy's name? That was
Oh yeah. I've got it written down somewhere. Yeah, he did a 182, and I reckon that they were
like immediately.
Yes,
without without
You don't, you know
a
why?
trial, before the trial, before.
Yeah, but you know why? There's an actual news clip. We should play it, Jack 61, in which the guy from the Innocence Project was being attacked verbally for getting Stephen Avery off in 2003. You know,
Oh,
and
really?
remember
Yeah.
what the detective said? Oh, if Stephen
Yeah.
Avery had remained in prison for something he didn't do, Teresa Halbach is likely would be alive today.
Oh my
Yes.
God. I've never seen
Yep.
that.
Yes.
The guy
Oh,
from the Innocence
yes.
Project was attacked.
Yes. I remember that.
Yep. We should play it.
Yeah,
We're
we
gonna find
definitely.
it.
Yeah, we got to find that so I can, because I
Yep.
don't think I've ever seen that.
Yep. Yeah, he got
Wow.
criticized.
Yeah. What did Anthony say? Don't forget Hostetter
And
and
Bembenek.
Bembenek. Oh yeah, God, absolutely. Two
Yep.
more really bad cases. Well, I mean,
with lying cops. I think that's his point.
absolutely. Well, they ought to slew them in that area. That other case, it happened to Kakana.
Oh
Always-
yeah.
I always forget that guy's name. I've got it written down like Doc somewhere, but that case is horrible too.
The one that
And the
Sunshine
case-
Christina talks about.
No.
Another one.
What about the one that Eric Kose was so into? They were making the movie and all that.
Oh, they're in that box shop, Eagle Nation.
Yeah. Eagle Nation. That's another one.
That's right. They killed that guy. That guy got executed.
They did.
No doubt about it.
Michael Funk. Thank you, Darkside.
Yep, that's right.
Nina.
Oh, is that where Eagle Nation is? Yeah, I've been to
Yeah.
Nina, Appleton,
Well-
Menasha. Yep.
Well, one thing that I got from the reading from Kocourek was that he's definitely has incompetent people in his department, and that's
Yeah.
a real worry, that they're very slack, that they don't
Including
follow,
himself.
including himself, and they don't follow procedure. All you got to do is have a look at Colburn for a start.
Yeah.
He was in charge of a very troubled department. And remember what Couchet said about Kocourek stabbing people in the back. So I really believe that his department was going to implode if the civil suit went ahead. It had to be stopped.
Oh, I think it
Yeah.
damn well would have imploded. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keith Findley. Thank you, Gloria. That was the Innocence Project guy.
Finley. I've heard that. Yeah, okay. I've heard that name.
Findley, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith Findley. He's the one that, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's
Did a 180.
Let's move on to Mr. Vogel. I'll get us started here, and then Cherie, are you okay to read here in a minute?
Oh, she's muted. Her earphones are muted. Jack.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Well, all right. We'll just Susan, are you okay to read after I read this introductory part here for a while?
You bet.
All right. I'll start us off here, then I'll let Susan take over. So, I think you all will find this interesting here. The surrounding of who's with and where they're at interviewing Vogel. On 10/28/2003, October 28th, Special Agents Amy. Huh?
I was just going to say this is the day before Kocourek was interviewed.
That's right. That's right. Special Agents Amy Lehmann and Debra Strauss interviewed Denis Vogel. Also present during the interview was Assistant Attorney General Jennifer Nashhold and Tom Fallon. The interview took place at the Wisconsin Department of Justice, Madison, DCI office, and began at approximately 1 p.m. In 1985, Vogel was the Manitowoc County District Attorney and handled the prosecution of Stephen Avery. Vogel provides the following information. First of all, before you get started, I find it really interesting that he's interviewed there and in front of Fallon and Jennifer Nashhold. Of course, we know Jennifer Nashhold is who received her and Monica Burkhart-Brist are the ones that received these reports from Amy Lehmann and Deb Strauss. I found this very, very interesting. They weren't excluded from this interview. I think they should have been, or she should have been. And Fallon, he shouldn't have been in there either. That's my opinion.
Yeah, he's the hatchet man. Tom Fallon is the hatchet.
He's a snake, man. That guy is a snake, but yeah.
Very, very dangerous, Tom Fallon.
Absolutely. All right, Susan, you can start whenever you want.
It should be noted that prior to the interview of Vogel, he was given the opportunity to review the Manitowoc County District Attorney's Office case file of Stephen Avery.
Oh my God.
No kidding. What the fuck?
Exactly. Wow.
To refresh his memory, I guess.
I guess.
So it wasn't all, I don't recall. Vogel was the Manitowoc County District Attorney from January of 1977 until 1986. Vogel then went into private practice in Minneapolis for a short time and is currently working for the law firm of Wheeler, Van Sickle, and Anderson, located in Madison, Wisconsin. Vogel was asked when he first could remember hearing about the assault of Penny Beerntsen. Vogel stated that he could not remember if he was called about the assault on the day that it happened or the following day. However, Vogel was contacted prior to a photo lineup being shown to Beerntsen, which was at the hospital, so it had to be the same day.
Yep.
Vogel stated that he could remember discussing with officers that they needed to make sure that the photographs were a fair representation of who Beerntsen was describing. Vogel thought maybe he would have had this conversation with either Tom Kocourek or Jean Couché. Vogel said that it was possible that he saw the photographs before they were shown to Beerntsen, but he was not sure. Vogel stated that he was not sure if he ever went to the hospital while Beerntsen was there being treated. How could you not be sure of that?
Right.
Vogel said that if someone said he was there, then it was possible, although Vogel could not recall that. Vogel stated, and I don't recall it ever being said that Vogel was at the hospital. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, I don't recall anyone saying he was there.
And if he saw the photos prior to the photo lineup, he had to have been at the hospital, I would say.
Absolutely. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
It really is. But he can't remember being there. Vogel stated that it was not uncommon to be called by law enforcement to discuss cases, but it would have been uncommon for Vogel to actually go to the hospital on this type of issue. Vogel stated that his first memory of the Beerntsens was when he received a telephone call from Tom Beerntsen. Tom Beerntsen wanted to know if Vogel was going to be the prosecutor on the case. And Tom Beerntsen also wanted to know if it was possible for him to hire his own prosecutor. Vogel told him that that was not possible. Well, isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
Why would he say that?
That's
really
weird.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the Beerntsens were neighbors of Kocourek, and they didn't trust this guy. That's what I think.
You didn't trust Vogel or didn't trust Kocourek?
Oh, well, either one of them.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Either one of them.
Was there a rumor going around that there was an affair
Yep.
going on.
Yep. Miss Kocourek
Yes.
and Penny. Absolutely, there
And
was.
Penny. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sunshine Christina talked to some locals that was the rumor. There's no proof of that, but absolutely.
Okay.
But that is very interesting. Vogel stated that he met with Penny Beerntsen several times in his office. One such occasion would have been before she viewed the live lineup. Vogel said that he could remember getting the public defender's office involved in the live lineup so that later there would be no disputing of how it was handled.
Well, why would there be a dispute?
Right?
What's this? It's almost like some kind of confession right here going on. Why would there be a dispute? Just do it like you normally do
It
it.
absolutely is. Get the public defender's office involved. What would that be, Kaczynski?
Oh God! Holy shit!
Oh God. Vogel relayed that his conversation with Penny Beerntsen about the live lineup would have consisted of telling her to come down to the sheriff's department to do it. It would not have included what she should expect or who was in the live lineup.
But do you notice, sorry, Susan, do you notice how they're giving extraneous detail?
Yep.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
giving the game away by stating things that should be implicit. If you look at the
Exactly.
case report, where red flags started going up is where in one report they mentioned the changing of gloves about 12 times.
Yep.
Exactly.
I handled
Yeah.
this piece of evidence. I changed my gloves. I handled that piece of evidence. I changed. And you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute. That's just like a surgeon saying, before I proceeded with the surgery, I washed my hands.
Exactly.
For God's sake, what the hell?
Just say it one time at the beginning. Between each of these pieces of evidence, I changed my gloves. You're done.
Yeah, implying it wasn't me that did any evidence tampering. I promise, Your Honor.
Right.
I changed my gloves.
Wow. Vogel was asked why there was both a photo lineup and a live lineup. Vogel stated that he did not want Beerntsen challenged in court, that her picking out Avery in the courtroom was her first time identifying him. Vogel was asked why Avery was the only person that was in both the photo lineup and the live lineup. Vogel stated that he did not know why that was. Vogel stated that he knew that they tried to get bearded men for both lineups. Again with the beards.
Yep.
Vogel stated that he found out that Avery was the suspect after the composite drawing was completed. Yeah, they got their story straight, don't they? Vogel said that there was also someone at the hospital that believed that the description was that of Avery. Jesus, this is like they have a script, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and notice they didn't name Dvorak. They kept it.
Nope.
They kept it very, very at
No,
arm's length.
just
So they
someone.
don't.
Exactly.
Yep,
Just
correct.
someone.
Just someone, random Joe.
Oh, jeez. Vogel stated that the name Stephen Avery was not unfamiliar to him at the time of the attack on Beerntsen. Vogel stated that Avery had a history of animal abuse, assaulting a lady on the road, and burglary. Vogel said that he assumed that the assault of the lady was sexually related. Yeah,
Well,
Now,
and
one of the
now
lawyers
why?
explained that.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's talking about his cousin. He's talking about his cousin.
That's right.
Okay. Now, how on God's earth did he extend the fact that he was going to sexually assault Sandra Morris?
Exactly.
And let me tell you right now, someone asked us that question. Do you remember, guys? A couple of years ago?
My
I
internet dropped out.
I
I
remember.
didn't hear the
that
question.
the question is that someone had believed that Stephen's next action was to sexually assault his own cousin, Sandra Morris. So isn't it interesting that Vogel said he assumed that the assault of the lady was sexually related?
Assumed. Why is
Mm-hmm.
that, Vogel? Why is that?
Mm-hmm. So hence, Stephen Avery is the perfect suspect for sexually assaulting Penny. Notice
Right.
the extension in logic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because remember Morris made those claims that it was Avery who was out there at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in January, February, naked and ready to roll. Shaking the dog at her when she's going to work.
Yeah, bullshit.
Absolute
Oh,
bullcrap.
I do not believe that for a minute.
Neither do I.
Oh boy.
It was so cold out, she wouldn't have even been able to see it.
Yeah, I can imagine Glenn or Kelly wrote that, explained that. I can imagine they wrote
Yeah.
that in the margin for when they got him on in the witness chair.
Mm-hmm. Sure wish they'd been able to do that.
Mm-hmm. All right, continue on.
Vogel was asked if he was aware of Beerntsen being shown a photograph of Avery prior to being shown the full photo lineup. Vogel stated that he was not aware of that. Vogel was asked if he was asked for or gave any guidance when it came to the composite drawing that was completed. Vogel stated that he did not. Vogel said that it was his recollection that Beerntsen gave a verbal description of her assailant, a composite drawing was done, and a detective made a comment that it sounded and looked like Avery. It sounded and looked like Avery.
Uh-huh.
The composite? Vogel stated Vogel stated that it was then that a photo lineup was put together. Beerntsen then looked at the photographs and picked Avery out as her assailant.
Right.
This is the most insane thing out, right? So
Yeah.
Couchet draws and traces Stephen Avery's arrest photo when he attacked his cousin, right? Including getting all the curls in the hair 100% correct. And then
Right.
because he drew a 100% match with Stephen Avery's photograph, who do you think Penny Beerntsen was going to pick out? Oh my God, that looks just like the picture you drew.
Yep.
Crazy.
But according to the girls in Vogel's office, Gregory Allen had curly hair at the time.
Correct. And when Stephen got arrested,
and that's why that photo looked like Allen more than Avery to them.
yeah, and when Stephen got arrested for the attack on Penny, his hair was straight. Not
His
curly.
hair was straight. Yes,
Yep.
exactly. Let's see.
There was a decision, I think, is where you're at.
There was a
wait.
decision. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
There was a decision made by Sheriff Kocourek to arrest Avery, and a search warrant was also drafted in front of Judge Hazelwood. Evidence was taken from the Avery home and was inventoried and placed in a box. Vogel stated that in addition to the identification by Beerntsen, he focused on the physical evidence that was available for the case. Yeah. Vogel stated that the clothing that Avery claimed to have worn on the day of the assault did not contain any cement dust. 2 people from the State Crime Laboratory testified about the clothing at the trial. In addition, there was a hair found that was consistent with Avery's hair. Sherry
You know,
Culhane.
yeah, it was Sherry Culhane. I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was a hair of Penny Beerntsen on his shirt.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
you got
that's
that
exactly right. He did.
got that right. So
Hmm.
according to Culhane, the hair had similarities to Penny's.
Yep.
Which is now complete junk science, correct?
Garbage.
100% junk science. And you know, they tested several people's hairs, including his wife Laurie. But you know who they didn't test? Barb's hair. And Stephen took Barb. They went out to one of the quarries and drove around. They
Yep.
never tested Barb's hair, and Barb had long hair.
Yep.
Yeah, they got stuck out there, I think.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, Vogel relayed that there was not even a trace of cement powder on the clothing of Avery's. Vogel stated that he could not remember how certain pieces of clothing were linked to the day of the crime, but thought that Avery must have pointed the clothes out. He was arrested already. He was in jail after the search warrant was after they took him to jail, I believe. Vogel stated that as far as Arland Avery's observations, Arland would not have been in the position to see what was seized from the Stephen Avery home as it related to clothing. Vogel was asked if he could recall any talk about Laurie Avery washing clothes that were possibly evidence. Vogel stated that he could not recall that.
Wow.
Vogel, because Arland is the one that said he saw cement dust.
That's right.
But Vogel saying, oh, he couldn't have seen those clothes.
Well, he was there. I mean,
Yeah. He was in a position to see what was seized.
Vogel, Arlen was one of the arresting officers.
yep.
Right, but
He
I
went
I
down-
believe the search warrant was the following day after they arrested Stephen. Was it not?
Yeah, that I can't remember.
I think they just said that earlier.
I can't
So
remember.
Stephen could not have pointed those clothes out.
No.
So they got the wrong clothes, probably. No wonder they didn't have cement dust on them.
Yep.
And, you know, Arlen probably, while he was there helping to arrest Stephen, saw some clothing with cement dust. I'm going to guess.
But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think cement dust or no cement dust, they were still
Doesn't-
going to get him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because
absolutely.
Hell yeah.
it mattered naught, because remember, they did the time reconstruction to see if
Exactly.
people could get from one place to the other. Now, why would they do that if they saw or didn't see cement dust? No, they wanted to prove whether Stephen had the possibility of getting down to the beach despite the ridiculous parameters of driving 10 miles over the speed limit.
And
They
no
didn't
family.
care.
And no family.
Exactly. Cement dust or no cement dust. So think about it. If he had a bit of cement dust, how about if he brushed it off?
Yeah.
Right? How about if he simply brushed it off?
Or change
Right?
clothes. You know,
Exactly.
before he
Exactly.
went to Menards or wherever the hell they went to.
Yeah, that's just a
Madison.
poor excuse. It's a poor excuse.
It is.
Yeah. Vogel was asked who ran the Stephen Avery investigation. Vogel stated that Kocourek and Couchet ran the investigation. Vogel did not know if it was normal for the sheriff, Kocourek, to run an investigation or not. Well, of course he would know that. Vogel stated that Kocourek might have gotten involved because there were no other investigators available.
Uh-huh. How would he know that?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, they definitely talked to each other.
Well, yeah, and he
Vogel
got to read the police report too. So,
right. Vogel was asked if he received any pressure to prosecute the case against Stephen Avery. Vogel stated that he did not. Mm-hmm. Vogel was asked about the preventative detention that was placed on Avery after he was arrested. Vogel stated that was a new process, and because of Avery's criminal history, Vogel decided to place Avery in preventative detention. Vogel stated that he would have solely made that decision. Vogel was asked if he was aware of specific directives that Kocourek left with the jail staff as it pertained to Avery. Vogel stated that he was not aware of that occurring.
Well, this is very suspicious
Yeah.
because Kocourek prevented Stephen from making a phone call because
right.
That was a new process. It just started that day. Yeah.
Correct. The new Avery bill, right? So
Yeah.
basically, he didn't want Stephen to phone up his family to potentially form an alibi, so he prevented Stephen from making a phone call.
They're talking to a lawyer.
Oh, correct.
If that's not shady, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Here we go. Vogel was asked if he was aware of Gregory Allen at the time of Beerntsen's attack. Vogel thought that he probably knew of Allen as his office prosecuted him a couple years prior. Vogel stated that he was also aware of other individuals who were previously involved in sexual assaults.
He prosecuted Allen numerous times or lowered the charges.
Probably knew of him. Oh my God. Vogel was asked if other individuals besides Avery were ever considered suspects in the case. Vogel stated that at some point he must have spoken with someone about the concept of making sure that they had the right guy.
So here we are again, not non-committal about any other suspects.
Someone
completely
must have spoken with someone.
A ghost.
Vogel stated he did not remember who he would have spoken to about that or how the conversation might have occurred. Vogel said that he noticed while looking through the case file that an earlier conviction of Allen was in the Avery case file. Vogel said that someone must have brought it to his attention. However, he could not recall any specifics about how that might have happened.
What the hell was it doing in his case file?
So now we have Teflon. We've got Teflon Vogel as well.
God.
And the scary thing is, right? These are in America. These officials are elected. Is that correct? The district attorney.
That's right.
These are elected individuals meant to protect and serve.
Wow.
And you could tell that not only Kocourek, but now the district attorney is lying out of his mouth. All of a sudden, he has selective memory loss.
I might have heard of Gregory Allen. We might have prosecuted him. It's like a revolving door with that damn guy.
No, and Darkside said that Gregory Allen used to show up in his office all the time. So he definitely knew who he was.
Absolutely.
Well, the girls in the office, they saw him. They knew who he was.
Correct.
Right.
They recognized him. Vogel stated that Beerntsen picked Avery out of a lineup and was sure that Avery was her assailant. Vogel also felt very strong about the crime lab reports of no trace of cement residue on the clothing, and also the hair that was retrieved was consistent with Avery's hair. Wow, what evidence, huh? Jesus. Vogel stated that he was convinced that Avery was the assailant in the case where Beerntsen was attacked. Vogel was asked, since it has now been proven that Avery was not the assailant, did Vogel have any explanation for the lack of cement dust on Avery's clothing? Vogel stated that he did not.
Of course not.
Good question.
Another thing, and I don't know if it's in here or not, but they haven't brought up about the attack a year earlier, about a mile away or so from where Penny was attacked. They haven't brought that up.
Yeah. Same beach.
That's right.
But it also goes to show how tenuous forensic evidence is, right?
Yep.
Stephen's exoneration goes to show how one mustn't just rely on forensic evidence, especially something as tenuous as cement dust or hair. So now they've been caught in a situation whereby they can't explain the evidence that was used against Stephen to convict him in 1985. They just put their hands up in the air and go, "I've got no fucking idea."
Yeah.
It's Penny's fault. That's all they do.
But guys, the seriousness of this is how many other people are serving prison time on the same type of bullshit, flimsy evidence. A lot.
We'll never know. We will truly never know.
Scary. It's scary for all of us, really.
Yep.
They still do it too. I mean, it's gotten, forensics have definitely improved, but still.
Yep.
They still use bad forensics. That's what Bidding and Strang are fighting against.
Well, yeah, and abusing the system itself, because they can, just being able to do something, and there's no consequence. The attorney general or whatever is not going to call up and say, "What are you doing in this case? You just stepped over the red line. What are you doing?" Unless there's it seems like some political maneuver or whatever, that shit never ever happens. Never. We never hear
That's
about
the biggest problem right there is accountability.
That's right.
But there is none.
But the scary thing is, then you have Jean Couchet stating that DNA forensic evidence can be manipulated, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yep. So hence you've got no faith in the forensic evidence because you can stage a crime and manipulate evidence to have a desired outcome, which is exactly what we've been arguing for with what happened to Stephen in 2005. Manipulation of forensic evidence.
We get done reading this. I'll relay a little story that's just my involvement with the Facebook group that I've told you guys about. You're going to get a kick out of this. Continue on whenever you're ready. You're going to love this. But continue on whenever you're ready, Susan.
Okay. Vogel was asked if he, if he could recall any of his own staff talking to him about concerns that Allen was the better suspect. Vogel stated that there might have been a discussion, but that he could not remember it. Vogel stated that he and his office staff often had discussions about cases.
Liar.
Vogel stated that he would have never thought lightly about other possible suspects that were brought to his attention. I'll just give him an alibi.
Yeah.
Again, Vogel stated that Beerntsen was very sure that Avery was the guy, and she was never unsure of herself. Vogel was asked if he could remember thinking that Allen could not be a suspect because he had an alibi. Vogel stated he could not remember that.
And read what that note says. Door County Probation
Door
Office.
County. Yep. Vogel was asked if he was informed about the arrest of Avery prior to it happening. Vogel stated that he could not remember, but that it was possible that he discussed things like Miranda and the suspect's statement with the sheriff. Vogel was asked if the sheriff's department conducted a canvass of the area where Beerntsen was attacked. Vogel stated that he was not sure. Vogel said that he knew the detectives conducted timed drives from the crime scene to other locations to determine if there was enough time for Avery to commit the crimes he was charged with. Vogel was asked if he could remember the defense requesting copies of reports relating to a canvass that was conducted. Vogel stated that he could not. Vogel was asked about his working relationship with the Manitowoc Police Department in 1985. Vogel stated that he had a good working relationship with them. Vogel stated that he was not aware that the police department was surveilling Allen at the time of the assault. Oh, what a fucking lie. Vogel said that he did not know that until he read it in the newspaper.
What's that note above there? I can't read that. Was he asked if
he recalled somebody telling him that?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Vogel stated that over the years, the relationship between the sheriff's department and the police department varied, depending on the time period and the personalities involved. Vogel was asked if he had to ask the sheriff's department for follow-up during the Avery investigation. Vogel stated that he could only remember requesting a test on some vegetation. As it related to discovery, Vogel stated that he had an open file policy, and that was true for every case. Vogel stated that he withheld nothing. Vogel relayed that he had a very good relationship with all the public defenders, and that he always gave them access to what he had collected as part of the case file. Vogel said that he would not be able to remember if he provided a complete copy or if the public defender's office were allowed to review the original case file. Vogel was asked if he ever had any problems getting police reports from the sheriff's department in regards to the Avery investigation. Vogel stated that he did not think that he had any problems, and as far as he knew, he received reports on all activities that were conducted. Vogel was asked if any investigators ever approached him with other possible suspects. Vogel stated that he could not remember that happening. Vogel said he believed that Avery was the man who committed the crimes and did not seriously think it could have been anyone else. Vogel stated that he did not get involved in the day-to-day details of the investigation, and as a result would not have known that the police department was watching Allen. Vogel stated that he could not remember thinking that Allen was a possible suspect. Allen never struck him as a big-time criminal, just someone who had a couple of exposure cases.
Oh my God.
Wow. He had his file from, what, North Carolina, was it?
Yeah.
Vogel said that if there were any cops with a different perspective, he did not know about it. Vogel stated that if he had thought Avery had not committed the crime, he would not have gone forward with the prosecution of him. Vogel was asked who he had spoken to about the Avery investigation since Avery was released from prison. Vogel stated that he spoke to Tom Kocourek briefly a week or two ago. Vogel said that he just wanted to know if the reporters had contacted Kocourek. Vogel also spoke with DA Mark Rohrer and ADA Mike Griesbach before Avery was released. Vogel stated that he also had contact with Jim Fitzgerald and Jim Bogart to see if the press had contacted either of them. The interview with Vogel was terminated at approximately 2:15 p.m.
Wow.
Oh my God!
What a load of baloney. I mean, a
What do you call Allen? Just someone with a couple of exposure cases. That's all.
Yeah, right.
Never struck him as a big-time criminal. Oh
Yeah.
my God!
Well, unfortunately, I've got to go now, guys. I'll come back a bit later. But you could spend 2 hours unpacking the bullshit from
Oh my
Vogel.
God! No
Oh,
kidding.
quite clearly he trivialized how dangerous Allen was, and one has to ask why. One has to ask why he consistently did this. He definitely prosecuted Allen on many cases. And remember, guys, what he did? He downgraded the offenses.
Every
One has
time.
to ask. Yep.
Totally.
And now notice with Stephen, they gave him no slack.
No.
With Stephen, he had a big prior criminal history, animal abuse, burglary, sexual assault, etc., potential sexual assault. So for Stephen, they went for the jugular. For Allen, Gregory Allen, they didn't. You have to ask why.
That's right. That's exactly right. We got a question. Did they ever show Penny Stephen in person and not just pictures or drawings because of the size and stature difference? Yeah, they did the live lineup, right?
Yes. Yep.
So she did get to see.
Yeah, he was so much shorter than Gregory.
Oh, several inches shorter.
Yeah.
Hey, Bethany, thanks for coming. Yeah, these are really interesting. I just, I can only speculate as to how Glenn and Kelly would have approached them during a deposition, but I think they would have really, really tore them up.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That's why they were saved till last.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have driven potential for. The deposition list was closed, at that point, but I don't know if that could have potentially opened up for someone else for them to ask to be deposed. I don't know, maybe. There are some in here that I wish that they would have called to, get a little bit more clarification. But I know that time was, it's certainly a factor. But anyway, just a second here. Let me send you this file too. I don't think I sent this other file to you, Susan. Yeah, I'll drop it here.
In open mic text or where?
No, I'll put it in our other chat.
Okay.
Robert. This guy's name that we're fixing to talk about is Robert Fussfeld or Fusfeld. I don't know exactly how you would pronounce his last name. His his interview is not long at all. Very short. Let me click over to it. Yep, this is the one right here. His is very short, and this is talking about this probation officer. We're this information we always talk about with this probation officer is that the word that we got before we had these reports is that Vogel allegedly talked to Allen's parole officer and alibied him for the day of this attack on Penny Beerntsen. Now, we've got this document. You have it, Susan? Did you get it, Susan? Did I lose you, Susan? Can't hear you. Uh-oh. I guess she's going to reconnect. No, still can't hear you yet. Maybe give it a second. Well, anyway, this document here, again, it's one of these, and I guess it would have been kind of maybe a little bit pointless to have brought this guy in because, it's such a short little interview, but what he says is really important. I mean, it is to me, based on what Vogel claimed that this guy told him, this probation officer. So the excuse was that, are you back? That's you, Susan? Hold on, guys. I still can't hear you, Susan. You may have to completely shut Discord down and then reopen it. Not sure what's going on. I still can't hear you. Strange. So anyway, the story is that, what I said, I'm getting confusing myself here, is that Vogel,
Hello?
there you go. There you go. Now I can
Oh,
hear you.
I had my damn headphone muted.
Oh, that would do it. Did you grab the file?
I did, yeah.
Sweet. All right, I've got it on the screen. So let's go ahead and read that. I'll just let you read. It's not that long. You can just read the entire thing. I will say that this happened on September 30th.
So this is the next month. They were August, right?
No.
Yeah, a month prior.
They were October, and then a month later. This is a
Oh,
month. So
earlier.
They already,
okay.
Yeah. This is earlier.
You're right. Okay, on Tuesday, September 30th of 2003, Deb Strauss contacted via the telephone probation and parole agent Robert Fussfeld. Fussfeld is the agent assigned to Gregory Allen. Special Agent Strauss asked Agent Fussfeld to review the case file regarding Allen and determine if Allen's probation parole agent was ever contacted by someone from the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department regarding a sexual assault case they were working on. The sexual assault in question occurred on July 29, 1985. Agent Fussfeld reviewed the file and advised Strauss that Allen was not on probation in July of 85. According to the records, Allen was not placed on probation until April 2nd of 1986. Agent Fussfeld advised Strauss that he was not Allen's probation agent in 1986. Agent Fussfeld indicated that even though he is currently listed as Allen's probation agent, Agent Fussfeld has never met Allen. The contact with Fussfeld was at that time terminated.
Isn't that interesting? Allen wasn't even on probation in '85. So where did this bullshit come from Vogel? Where did that come from?
Well, we knew it was bullshit. He had to make up something because everybody's saying, "Hey, we think this is Allen, not Stephen Avery."
That's right.
You know, and that's what that satisfied the girls. I mean, they still were suspicious, but they both said after he told them that they just took his word for that. The office girls, or the three of them.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely going to get to Brenda Peterson's next time we get into depositions. But I mean, he pulled this out of his ass. I mean, he had to.
I think we should read Penny's interview.
I'd have to find it. Hold on. I'm sure you don't have it handy, do you?
I don't have it handy. I'm not like you, Jack.
I don't have that one handy. I know I've got it, but it's probably on my other drive and not on my main computer. Just a sec.
Yeah, Jinx says, do people not commit crimes when they're on probation? What does that even have to do with anything about the attack?
Exactly. Okay. Penny Beerntsen interview September 26, 2003. 1985 case, Penny Beerntsen interview September. Okay. Well, I'm looking in the library, and there's 3 files here, and they're all dated the same, but there's 3 different. Oh, second report. Okay.
It was in this group that you just.
Oh, you're talking about the ones that that they did?
That Strauss and Lehmann did.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Yeah. Well, they actually did several.
Hmm.
They had contact with her at least twice, if not 3 times. I think one of them was on the same day, but they may all. Let's see, 23rd phone interview. Okay. Uh,
Yeah, it was the Manitowoc City Police that was actively surveilling Allen. Danny Mellis just asked that. But that day, they happened to be called away to something else during the time of the attack on Penny.
yeah, yeah. According to, yep, that's right. According to what they said, they got called away. And the surveillance wasn't like they weren't like just sitting on him. But they advised all the officers to, if you're in the area where he's supposed to be, take note if his car's there. If it's not, I
Yeah.
guess let dispatch know his car's not in the driveway or whatever. So they were kind of actively keeping tabs on him. So, okay, this one file here is, let me get that to you.
Okay.
This is the 23rd,
Of
2003, September 23rd. This is
September.
this is one of the first ones.
So this was before Kocourek and Vogel.
Yep, that's right. I'll put it in our other chat there.
Okay. I just think there was a lot of stuff in there that contradicts Kocourek's statement.
I think this is the first one. Yeah, I'm sure it is. The other ones are the 27th. So yeah, go for it. It's a couple pages.
Now this says October 29th. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry. I'm looking at. Okay, here it is. 9/23/03.
Yep.
Okay, on Tuesday, September 23rd, 03, Strauss made telephone contact with Penny. Strauss made contact with Beerntsen because Beerntsen had previously contacted the Attorney General's office regarding some nuisance phone calls she had been receiving. Beerntsen stated she would like to speak with the special agents, but her attorney, Janine Geske, would like to be present during the interview. Beerntsen stated Geske was out of the state until Friday, and Beerntsen wanted to know if Friday morning, September 26th, would be acceptable for the special agents to meet with her. Strauss told Beerntsen that would be fine and that Beerntsen should contact Geske to determine when and where the meeting should take place. It was later determined this interview would take place on Friday, September 26th, in Geske's office. During the phone conversation with Beerntsen told Strauss that after Stephen Avery had been sent to prison, it was almost as if someone had been watching her house. Sometime during 1986 or 87, the Beerntsens began receiving obscene phone calls. Beerntsen told Strauss these calls were of a sexual content, such as asking Beerntsen if she gave blowjobs. Beerntsen said in hindsight, she's wondering if Gregory Allen had been watching her house. Beerntsen said that within 5 minutes of Beerntsen's returning home from work, her phone would ring and it would be the caller with obscene messages. That was his MO.
It
He
was.
stayed in contact. Yep,
He did that to a bunch of different women that he attacked.
he did. He got off on that. Beerntsen stated she had recently been receiving telephone calls where no one says anything. The phone will ring and Beerntsen will answer it, but the caller will not speak. All Beerntsen can hear is breathing on the other end of the line. Beerntsen stated she has received 3 of these calls on Saturday, September 20th, 03, and one on Monday, September 22nd of 2003. Beerntsen told Strauss that she has offered to meet with Avery and that if Avery agreed to meeting, Avery could contact Beerntsen through Beerntsen's attorney. As of this date, Avery has not accepted this offer, and all Beerntsen has heard for a response is what Beerntsen is reading in the newspaper. This was not the one I meant that I was talking about. I was talking about her.
Well, that's the 27th. So let me get
The
that
one
open.
where she talks about, being in the hospital and the day of the attack.
Are you talking about from 1985? Or are you talking about one of these?
Well, I thought it was one of these, but I could be wrong.
Let's see here. Hold on here. We'll see. Because they were in contact with her. Okay, they were in contact with her this day, twice on the 26th, on the 27th, all September, and then also, I'm sorry, October 27th, not September. So let me turn this off. I think I can find the one you're talking about. That way I'm not just flipping through a bunch of files here on screen. Okay. All right, let me look here at the 26th interview.
That's pretty.
Now this one's
pretty
6 pages. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's pretty gross. Someone was calling Penny after Stephen got out, and Allen was in prison at that time, wasn't he? Was he in prison in 03?
Oh yeah. He went to prison in 96.
So who the fuck was doing that? That's Jesus. People are so sick.
Well, he could have done it from prison.
Oh, I don't know if he could or not.
I mean, we had Colorado we had that caller ID in 85.
But you get a recorded message with a prison phone call.
That's true.
Unless he had a cell phone,
Nah, I doubt that. Okay, I'm gonna send you this file. See if it's the one you're talking. Because it's 6 pages long. I think this is the one you want. All right, check that one out. I think that's the one that you're talking about. It's pretty long.
You want to read some?
No, you go for it. It's so small. It's really difficult for me to read. I don't have bifocals, and I need them.
Okay. Let me just look at it real quick. Yeah, this is the one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it back up.
Okay, on Friday, September 26th at approximately 11:15 a.m., Deb Strauss and Amy Lehmann, attorney Janine Geske, distinguished professor of law at Marquette University, and Dr. Daniel Blinka, professor of law at Marquette University, interviewed Penelope A. Beerntsen.
I found that interesting that this professor, these other people are in there. I don't really understand it. I don't. Anyway.
She's got her attorney as Geske, right?
That's right.
And then a Dr. Blinka, professor of law.
No idea.
The interview was conducted in a conference room at the Marquette Law School in Milwaukee.
God help.
The special agents told Beerntsen they originally contacted her because Beerntsen had previously contacted the Attorney General's office regarding some harassing phone calls she had been receiving. Beerntsen said she originally received 3 phone calls on Saturday, September 20th, 2003, and 1 phone call on Monday, September 22nd, 2003. Beerntsen said when she received these same phone calls, the person on the other end of the line would not say anything. Since Monday, Beerntsen has not received any more of these phone calls, and she said this was no longer an issue. The special agents told Beerntsen that if she starts receiving these types of calls again, that she should contact either Strauss or Lehmann. Strauss and Beerntsen had a previous telephone conversation on Tuesday, September 23rd. During this telephone conversation, Beerntsen stated she had other issues she would like to tell the special agents regarding the events that occurred after her assault in July of '85. Strauss asked Beerntsen what these other issues were. Beerntsen said she was originally taken to the emergency room at the hospital. While there, the physicians completed a rape protocol kit. Besides having the rape protocol kit performed, Beerntsen said she sustained injuries such as a concussion, cuts to the back of her head, her vision was blurred, a broken nose, and a jaw injury. Beerntsen also stated that while she was being questioned by the investigators from the sheriff's department, Beerntsen was also overhearing the emergency room doctor contact someone at the eye clinic saying he did not want to stitch Beerntsen's injuries because they were so close to the eye. Beerntsen overheard the physician tell the person from the eye care clinic that he had never stitched anything so close to the eye. The person on the other end of the phone offered to verbally tell the physician what to do. While Beerntsen was overhearing this conversation between the emergency room doctor and the person at the eye care clinic, Beerntsen was also being questioned by Manitowoc County Sheriff Tom Kocourek and Manitowoc County Sheriff's Deputy Judy Dvorak. Beerntsen was asked why the sheriff was involved, and Beerntsen said she seems to recall the sheriff was involved in this process because the deputy who was on call at the time did not answer the page. Beerntsen stated Deputy Dvorak asked most of the questions, and the sheriff kept coming in and out of the room. Beerntsen said the entire time she was answering the investigator's questions, she was being treated by the physician. Now, Kocourek just said, all we did was ask for a description, and then everything else took place in her private room.
That's exactly right. It's a big lie because I believe her. I don't believe him at all.
Yeah. Beerntsen did not think Deputy Dvorak ever left the room. However, the sheriff left the room during certain parts of the examination by the physician. As part of the interview with Deputy Dvorak and the sheriff, Beerntsen provided a physical description of her assailant and gave a statement as to what happened. While still in the emergency room, Beerntsen was handed a statement and asked to read it and sign it. This statement had been completed by Dvorak and was a summary of the information Beerntsen had provided. Beerntsen told Deputy Dvorak and the sheriff that she was unable to read the statement because of her blurred vision. Beerntsen was told to sign the document anyhow. Beerntsen said she could not remember if she was told to sign this document by Sheriff Kocourek or Deputy Dvorak. At the direction of the law enforcement official, Beerntsen said she signed the statement that night, even though she could not read it. Beerntsen told the special agent she did not read the statement she signed at the hospital until approximately July 31 or August 1st of 1985. When Beerntsen read the statement, she said there were errors. Most of these errors were regarding the sequence of events, and Beerntsen asked to complete a second, more accurate statement. Beerntsen said she did not think the original statement was wrong because Dvorak wrote things down incorrectly. Instead, Beerntsen believes she may have made some errors in telling Dvorak what happened. For example, Beerntsen initially said her assailant had brown eyes, but later said that they were blue. Beerntsen told the agent she originally told Deputy Dvorak that her assailant had brown eyes. Beerntsen referred to some of the statements she made the night of the assault as excited utterances. Well, this is after she's already been suggested that it's Stephen Avery
That's right.
that has
That's
blue eyes.
That's exactly right.
That same night, after Beerntsen was moved from the emergency room into a hospital room, Sheriff Kocourek and Jean Cachet from the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department asked Beerntsen if she was able to give a physical description of her assailant for a composite drawing. Beerntsen said that she provided a physical description to Cachet, such as the shape of her assailant's face, facial features, etc. Beerntsen and Cachet worked together until they came up with an accurate representation of her assailant. Well, I have to say that, her eyesight is blurry.
Yep.
Right? I don't know how the hell she could work together with him.
No way.
Within a half hour after the composite drawing had been completed, Sheriff Kocourek displayed to Beerntsen 9 photos of individuals who matched Beerntsen's physical description. Beerntsen described these photos as fairly uniform in size and shape. Sheriff Kocourek placed these photos on her bed tray for her to look at. Beerntsen said she was not sure if she knew whether or not the Sheriff's Department had a suspect in mind at the time or not. After Kocourek placed the 9 photos on the bed tray, he asked her if she recognized the man who assaulted her. Beerntsen said the minute she saw Stephen Avery's photo, she had a fearful reaction. Sometime during the night of the assault, Beerntsen remembers asking Kocourek if the Sheriff's Department had a suspect in mind. The sheriff responded affirmatively. Beerntsen told the special agent she was not sure when this conversation occurred, but she assured it happened on the night of the assault. Beerntsen was not sure if this conversation took place before or after the composite drawing and the photo lineup. Sometime during Beerntsen's hospital stay, her husband, Tom Beerntsen, told Beerntsen that a suspect had been arrested in her assault case. Beerntsen was released from the hospital the following day, July 30th, 1985. Approximately the second night at home, Beerntsen had developed a bad case of poison ivy. Because of this, Beerntsen stated she was sleeping on the couch. Late that night at approximately 12:07 a.m., August 1st, 1985, the Beerntsen residence received a phone call. Beerntsen told the special agent the phone call went like this. Beerntsen: "Hello?" Caller: "This is Tom." Beerntsen: "What do you want?" Caller: "I want you." Beerntsen said she hung up the phone and called Kocourek the first thing the following morning. Wow, he called her first day home.
Yep.
And Stephen was in prison.
Yep. He
Or
was in jail.
Beerntsen was asked if she received any other harassing phone calls. Beerntsen responded that after the Avery trial, Beerntsen started receiving phone calls. Beerntsen said she received these phone calls almost as if someone was watching her. For example, Beerntsen would receive phone calls that were sexual in nature within 5 minutes of her coming home from work. Beerntsen told the special agent that she did not know who was making these harassing phone calls. The only harassing phone call Beerntsen received where she could identify the caller was on March 10, 1986. This phone call came from one of Avery's alibi witnesses. Beerntsen said when she answered the phone on this date, the person stated, "I hope you feel good putting an innocent boy in prison." I wonder if that was Ma.
Maybe.
Yeah. Beerntsen said on August 1st, 1985, she contacted the sheriff's department regarding the harassing phone call she received the night before. Sheriff Kocourek sent Deputy Dvorak to her house because the sheriff was concerned about Beerntsen's personal safety. Deputy Dvorak told Beerntsen the sheriff's department was going to put together a live lineup for Beerntsen to look at because the sheriff's department wanted to make sure the right suspect was in custody. While Dvorak was at the Beerntsen residence, Beerntsen read her original statement for the first time. Beerntsen said this would have occurred sometime during late afternoon, August 1st, 1985. This is when Beerntsen asked to complete a second, more accurate statement.
See, and this is a problem. The live lineup, they've already blown it, right? Because they've already
Yeah.
shown her a picture of Avery. He's the only one from the photo lineup, the photos that they gave her, photo array, that's in the live lineup. They've blown it right there, and that can never happen, never.
Right? While Dvorak and Beerntsen were waiting for the sheriff's department to create the lineup, Dvorak and Beerntsen went to a restaurant across the street from the sheriff's department. When the lineup was ready, Deputy Dvorak and Beerntsen went to the sheriff's department. Penny was given pieces of paper numbered 1 through 8 and instructed to put an X next to the appropriate number of who her assailant was. Penny was told that if she could not identify her assailant, she was to fold the paper in half. Penny said when she saw Avery in the lineup, she started shaking. Penny again identified Avery as her assailant. Penny was asked if any of the people in the lineup was asked to. Penny was asked if any of the people in the lineup was asked to speak, and Penny responded negatively. Penny expressed some concern about this lineup because some of the men in the lineup did not look at all like her physical description. Penny said some of the individuals were much taller than Beerntsen had described, and others had the wrong hair color. Penny told the sheriff that some of the men in the lineup did not look at all like what she had described, and the sheriff responded something to the effect of, "Do you know how hard it is to find 8 guys with a beard in this small town?" Beerntsen said that when she saw Avery in the live lineup, Penny put an X next to Avery's number. Penny stated Avery was the only person in the live lineup who was also in the photo lineup she was shown the night of the assault.
Exactly.
Exactly. When the live lineup was over, Kocourek told Beerntsen and her husband Tom, took them to the sheriff's office. While sitting in the sheriff's office, Penny saw 2 of the men who were in the lineup walk down the hall. Since Penny had never been involved in this type of situation before, Penny was concerned as to why 2 of the people in the lineup were walking freely in the halls. The sheriff told Penny that one of the men in the lineup was a radio announcer and the second man was a mailman. Penny indicated that both times she identified Avery in the separate lineups, Penny was sure she was identifying the man who was her assailant. Penny said after seeing Avery in the live lineup, Penny did not see Avery again until his court appearances. Now get this. Was this the part? Yeah. A few days after the assault, the sheriff's department took Beerntsen and her husband to the beach and had them role play the assault a few days after the assault.
Absolutely unforgivable.
That is unbelievable.
You
Unforgivable.
you know why that's doubly unforgivable? It's reliving the trauma
Yeah.
again. But not only that, do you understand what the sheriff did? It congealed in the mind of Penny that Stephen was her attacker and that she relived the experience. Hence, she wasn't going to waver in who she picked out. So it was
Yeah, now she's
pure.
got his face in her brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
She now associated Stephen with the visceral attack on the beach. So in other words, she's never going to shake Stephen out of her mind. What the sheriff did was like psychological abuse and terror.
Absolutely.
I agree. I agree. The sheriff's department asked Tom Beerntsen to act as the assailant. Penny demonstrated to the investigators how she was grabbed and attacked on the beach. It did not appear as if Beerntsen had an issue with the sheriff's department asking her and her husband to role play. However, this scenario was upsetting to Attorney Geske. Yeah, I bet. Within weeks of the assault, Beerntsen received a telephone call from someone from the Manitowoc Police Department. The representative from the police department told Beerntsen that the Manitowoc Police Department had someone in mind that matches the description of Penny's assailant. The representative told Penny the subject was not Avery. The rep from the police department then asked Penny if she ever noticed anyone watching her while she was at home, watching her at the Y where she worked out or where she worked, or simply following her around. Penny responded negatively. After receiving this call from the Manitowoc Police Department, Penny contacted someone at the Sheriff's Department. Penny thinks she may have talked directly to Kocourek. Penny asked the sheriff if there was another suspect. Penny then relayed the contents of the phone call from the Manitowoc Police Department. Penny was told the Sheriff's Department would contact the police department and that Penny should not worry about this phone call because the Sheriff's Department has jurisdiction over this case. Beerntsen said she was never recontacted by the Manitowoc Police Department. After the Beerntsens were told that DNA tests revealed Avery was not the assailant, Beerntsen's husband went to the Manitowoc Police Department to let them know Avery was going to be released from prison. Beerntsen's husband was going to ask the Manitowoc Police Department to keep an eye on their house because the Beerntsens were going to be out of town for a while. When Tom Beerntsen went to the police department, he spoke with Manitowoc Police Department Deputy Chief Thomas Bergner. Deputy Chief Bergner told Beerntsen's husband that Beerntsen's assailant, Gregory Allen, was a known sex offender, and the Manitowoc Police Department had been monitoring since the mid-1980s. Deputy Chief Bergner told Beerntsen's husband that police department actually had a code name for Allen, and any time an officer saw Allen, they would use that code name on the radio. Then any officer who was in the same area as Allen would monitor Allen's movements. Penny was then asked to describe the interaction she had with Manitowoc District Attorney Denis Vogel. Penny said that Vogel came to her house on one occasion. At this time, Penny was still physically healing from the injury she sustained. Vogel asked Beerntsen to tell her story, and then he asked her how sure she was that she identified the right person. Beerntsen responded she was 95 to 99% sure. Vogel told Beerntsen that when she was testifying on the stand, she needed to say 100% sure. Beerntsen told the special agents that there were no doubts in her mind when she testified in court that Avery was her assailant. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
She had a little bit of reasonable doubt there, but no,
Well,
not good enough for
well-
Vogel.
Well, no, well, and that's bordering on tampering to me.
Totally.
Maybe,
And also manipulating the witness as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's witness manipulation, because it's interesting. Don't you find it rather interesting how law enforcement and also the district attorney failed in their due care, and the only person who had an element of doubt was Penny herself?
that's right.
That's a shocker right there.
Yeah.
And it all started because DeWork says that sounds like Stephen Avery, and then Gene
Yeah.
Cachet traces a drawing of Stephen Avery that he couldn't have possibly had at the night of the assault. No way. No way.
Yeah. So the tragedy here is not only did they guide Penny into picking Stephen, they then turned around and blamed Penny for picking Stephen. So
Yep.
they all washed their hands and said, "No, wasn't our fault. It was Penny's fault." This truly represents one of the worst cases of victim abuse you're ever going to see, ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, wait till you hear this next paragraph. Vogel told Penny that there was no physical evidence tying Avery and Penny together. As a result, Penny needed to do the best job she could in testifying. While prepping Penny for trial, Vogel told Penny that he did not want her to carry on while she was testifying on the stand. Vogel said Penny needed to be a believable witness who was in control of her emotions. Vogel did not want the jury to think that Penny was a hysterical witness. Penny said that this put a lot of pressure on her because Penny felt the entire case was hinging on her testimony.
It was.
It did, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. During the trial, Penny said she was sequestered, so she did not hear all of the courtroom testimony. Penny recalled on the day Steve Avery testified, Penny asked Vogel how it was going. Vogel responded, "Not very good, because Avery was a very credible witness." The special agents asked Penny if she ever saw a photo of Gregory Allen during the investigation. Penny responded she never saw Allen's photo and she never heard his name being mentioned. Penny continued to say she did not know anything about Allen until Avery had been released from prison and it was announced that Allen was in fact Penny's assailant. After the trial, Penny had contact with the foreman of the jury who convicted Avery. The foreman commented to Penny that 3 of the people on the jury worked with cement. All 3 of these jurors felt that Avery's alibi witness was not credible because some of these witnesses said they were working with Avery on the day of the assault, pouring cement. These jurors all believed that if Avery would have been pouring cement that day, there would have been residue on Avery's clothes. Because there was no residue found on Avery's clothes, the jurors did not believe Avery's alibi witnesses.
All hinges on what clothes that they went back to the house and got.
Oh, exactly.
Jesus
And
Christ.
Stephen was not there to point them out.
So think about this, right? You're Ma and Pa Avery, and you're the other witnesses who's saying, "Yep, Stephen was right next to me, pouring
Yeah.
concrete. He was right next to me, doing this, and he was right next to me doing that." And these fucking idiots in court are saying, "No, he wasn't." You must be in a state of the twilight zone when your own son is within shoulder distance of you,
Oh my
and the
God.
attorney is saying, "No, he wasn't. He was down at the beach sexually assaulting this woman." you must be thinking, wait a minute, there must be a parallel universe going on here.
Yeah.
So because those witnesses, those bozos in the jury thought, well, hey, I've poured concrete. I get a lot of concrete dust on me. Because Stephen probably handed the wrong clothes in, therefore he was a liar, and all 16 alibi witnesses who saw Stephen right next to them were liars. And what's the number? You must be thinking, no, this cannot be right. How everyone must be lying to protect Stephen, that he was right next to them. And according to what the DA was saying and the judge and everybody else, no, he wasn't. Guys, how do you overcome that? How do you overcome that?
Well, you can hear these jurors in deliberation saying, hey, I've worked with cement. There should be dust all over those clothes. You know,
Well, yeah, and you get,
convincing other jurors.
if you're pouring, large areas of cement and you're handling it, you're going to get. It's not really. It's kind of like a stain, but it's kind of embedded. Sometimes it could take a wash or two to get it all out, but
But, the search warrant was the day after Stephen was arrested. It was on the 30th. Stephen was not home to point out the
Nope.
clothes that he was wearing. They just went in there and found clothes that didn't have dust on them, I'm guessing.
yeah, I just picked out whatever, just take it back.
Yeah, but Stephen could have had two shirts that were identical, right?
Yeah,
And if
Yep.
they got the wrong one, that
yeah.
didn't have a lot of or have
A
any
white
cement,
T-shirt,
correct? Then they based their entire case on a false premise. Do you
That's right.
understand?
That's right.
On
Or
a
Lori
Talk about
could have thrown
weak,
it in the wash.
Yep,
weak
correct.
evidence. For fuck's sake.
And Stephen's not
Unreal.
exactly up a stool in the shed, right? Goes, oh yeah, a shirt, yeah, right. And because of that, the whole case was mounted against him based on a lack of cement dust on the shirt and also Penny Beerntsen's hair, which resembled Penny's on his shirt. That's it. The whole case is based
That's
on that.
it.
Because there's
And Penny's eyewitness account.
zero evidence of anything else.
Nope.
One hair, right?
If Kocourek was going to get him one way or the other, you're mine now, boy.
I don't care if you did or not. Yeah.
But don't you find this disturbingly similar to Brendan Dassey? How there was no
Yes.
evidence that tied him to Teresa Hallbach.
Oh my God, but Kratz would say, but what about the bleach on his jeans? Like,
That's
for fuck's sake.
correct.
Same kind of deal.
That's right.
Like, that proves that he killed Teresa Hallbach because he had bleach spots on his jeans. So dumb.
All right, continue on, or if you want, Susan, you can let Doc read for a bit if he wants.
Oh, I don't care. Either way. No, we're on page 5 of 6. I'll just go ahead and finish it.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep going.
Let's see. Several times during the interview, Penny indicated everyone in the sheriff's department treated her very kindly and sensitively. During the week of September 22nd, 2003, Beerntsen received a telephone call from Brenda Peterson, the victim witness coordinator from Manitowoc County. Penny stated Peterson has always been very good to her. Peterson began the conversation by asking Penny how she was doing. As the conversation went on, Penny had the feeling Peterson had something else to say. Peterson told Penny that some mistakes had been made during the trial, but Peterson believed they were honest mistakes. Peterson also told Penny that Jim Fitzgerald, the former Manitowoc County District Attorney, wanted to get in touch with Penny. Penny said Fitzgerald has not contacted her as of this time. During the Avery trial, Fitzgerald worked as an assistant DA for Manitowoc County. Penny thought Fitzgerald was on paternity leave during the trial. Penny remembers Vogel commenting that if Fitzgerald came into the office for some reason, Fitzgerald was not to get near this case because he would fuck it up. Wow. He was an honest guy, in other words.
Yeah.
Wow. Penny was asked if she had spoken with either Kocourek or Vogel since Avery's release. Penny responded that she recently ran into Kocourek at a Letterman concert at the Capitol Civic Center. Penny originally saw Kocourek talking to the current Manitowoc County Sheriff Ken Peterson. Later that evening, Penny's husband had a brief conversation with the sheriff. Penny said she did not talk to the sheriff that evening, nor has she had any contact with Kocourek or Vogel about this issue. Penny told the special agents that after Avery had been sentenced, Penny learned that Sheriff Kocourek went to a county budget hearing, taking the photographs of Penny that had been used during the trial. Kocourek showed these photos to the members of the county board and stated these photos demonstrate the reason the sheriff's department needed more money in their budget. There it is right there.
Wow. Can you imagine?
Fucking asshole.
I bet she felt really betrayed. I bet she did.
Oh my God.
But, you know, you got to understand the depravity of Kocourek knows no bounds. Now he's using the misfortune of a grand mistake, and I put it in air quotes, mistake done by Kocourek and Vogel, and now he's using Penny, the injuries of Penny, for his financial gain for his department. Yep. So not only do we have a shit show going on, he's actually using Penny's injuries as a reason to line the pockets of his department for saying, see, it's not our fault. We need more money.
That's right.
And when they asked Kocourek about this, he said, I don't remember doing that.
Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't.
Fucker. Jesus.
So not only is he victim blaming, he's now victim shaming, and he's using the victim for his advantage. This, I've never seen this before. This is unprecedented.
Well, that's what the whole fucking case is.
They call Avery a scumbag. The sheriff and the DA need to look in the mirror.
Well, their
behavior is reprehensible. Reprehensible.
Shit. Penny was asked how she received an affidavit from an inmate indicating Avery confessed to committing the assault. Penny responded that she was doing advocate work and going to the various prisons to talk about her assault. As part of Penny's presentations, she never uses Avery's first or last name. During a lunch break at the Green Bay Correctional Institute, an inmate approached Penny and stated that he has heard her story in the past. The man stated he was incarcerated in the Green Bay prison and had a cell next to Avery's. The inmate stated that Avery would brag about his crime. Oh, Jesus. Penny said attorney Bruce Kittle, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder who that was.
Well, you heard the story, right? That when Penny was going to the various jails to give her presentation and stories, you know who signed up to go to one of those presentations, right?
Not Gregory Allen.
Gregory Allen.
No.
My God, no.
You talk to Sunshine Christina, yeah. Yes, I think it's even in Greaseback's book that, could you imagine the horror and the irony of Penny Beerntsen talking about her case in front of the perpetrator in the audience.
That's
Oh my
crazy.
God. I wonder if
Yeah.
that was him. I wonder if
Oh,
that
yeah.
was him that did this.
Could have been. Could have been.
Wow. Fuck. What, wait. I don't know what years that was, though, when she was doing that. If Gregory was even in prison yet. Of course, he was in and out, wasn't he?
Well, no, when he got arrested, I have to, I think it's in Griesbach's book. He mentions it, that she went to the same prison that Gregory Allen was staying at. But of
He was
course,
arrested.
Wow.
He was arrested
know
in
that.
95 and convicted in 96.
yeah, she didn't know that because she thought Stephen was the perpetrator.
Right.
Oh boy. Yep, I've got
Wow.
to
That's
double
crazy.
check that.
That's wild. Penny asked attorney Bruce Kittle, a lawyer from the Restorative Justice Project at the time, got this affidavit for Penny. Oh, she said he did. Penny thought Kittle was currently working for the Restorative Justice Program in Iowa. Geske stated that she would email Kittle's address and phone number to Strauss at a later time. As part of the interview, Penny said most people in the community seem to think that she and the sheriff are good friends. Penny said that even though their daughters may socialize, she and the sheriff do not. They know each other, but they do not socialize together.
Well, that's an interesting statement.
There, you got it right there.
Why would she want? What? That's weird.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think she doesn't like Kocourek, and her husband doesn't like Kocourek or Vogel. He wanted a different prosecutor. Like I said before, I think there was something. I think Kocourek set the whole thing up, and there was something bad blood between them for some reason. I don't know. Just my opinion.
Well, yeah, because we don't know the full history because these people have lived there, their entire lives, or as far as we know. Yeah, they're from there. I know they are. They're natives.
They were neighbors.
Yeah, that too.
She wanted to be sure that that was understood, that they were not friends. They didn't socialize.
That's interesting.
It is.
Huh.
During the interview, Penny was asked if she ever saw a photo of Allen since the assault. Penny responded that since Avery was released and Allen was positively identified as her assailant, Penny has seen a 1987 photo of Allen. When Penny originally saw the photo, she thought Avery and Allen could be brothers. Penny stated that after seeing the photo of Allen, it did not strike the fear in her the memory of Avery does. In her, did not strike the fear in her the memory of Avery does. That's because Avery was put into her brain.
Yes.
Yep, that's
They,
right.
Yeah.
they convinced her. The CIA. I know. I'm almost not joking. The CIA would be very interested in this because it's how
Yeah.
a person who is traumatized can be manipulated into believing something that didn't take place. So
They
you
know
got
all about that.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. The CIA were into this big time, brainwashing. So it's interesting that Kocourek and his crew were able to do the same thing by manipulating Penny into believing that her attacker was Stephen. And so much so that when she saw the actual photo of Gregory Allen, it didn't elicit a response. Right?
Well, no, she didn't associate him with any of
Yeah.
that at all.
Yeah.
Cannot get Stephen out of her mind. Boom. Right there, right then and there. It worked. The brainwashing worked.
No kidding, because Allen was right in her face and he was beating the shit out of her.
Correct.
You would think it would, but Yeah, that's powerful, isn't it?
And notice they didn't allow the witnesses in the lineup to speak because Stephen's voice likely would have been very different to Gregory Allen's.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I don't think they look anything alike myself.
Well,
She thought they could be brothers.
Yeah, but notice what they did. They showed the 1987 photo, right, Jack 61, right,
That's right.
Susan?
Of Gregory
right.
Allen. Yeah.
Allen in the 1984 photo,
Yeah.
that's magically been lost and replaced when Gregory
Yeah.
Allen had straight hair like Stephen did.
That's right.
It's unbelievable.
Geske provided the special agents with the booking photo of Avery on June 30th, 85. They're questioning it. I think they meant July 30th. And a booking photograph of Allen that is believed to have been taken in 1987. A copy of these photos can be found in the main case file. Penny had no additional information, and the interview was at that time terminated. October 2nd, 2003. Isn't that an interesting report?
It is.
It's very sad, guys. Very sad.
Yeah. Well, we'll get through some more of these. I'm not done, presenting these because they're. It would have been nice, I guess, to have had these reports with the other depositions that we've already read. But there are some that we're going to have, as we read the depositions, we're going to have access to their actual interview. So that'll be interesting. Not saying that we'll necessarily read the deposition and the interview, but we can certainly have it for comparison or whatever and follow along.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad that we got to present this. For me, it tells the fuller story, the bigger story.
Well, it also demonstrates the power of suggestibility.
Oh yeah.
Which is exactly what Fassbender and Uyghur did to Brendan. Suggestibility, right? They were molding Brendan into him telling them a narrative which was bullshit.
Yep.
Kocourek, Dvorak, Couchet did the same thing to Penny Beerntsen. They molded her into picking out Stephen Avery. Now, isn't that remarkable, guys? Remarkable.
Well, she was traumatized.
Yes.
Judy DeWork says, "Oh, that sounds like Avery. That guy." She didn't like him anyway. So that this gets ingrained.
Well, they traumatized Brendan also, telling him he is a liar.
Oh yeah.
Over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah. So don't you find that in a way they use the read technique on Penny in a traumatized state?
In a different kind of way, they did.
Yeah,
they sure did.
They absolutely. It worked.
It did work. Alrighty, guys. We've covered 4 of these, which is actually 5, but the other one was really short. But some really interesting information. Confirms, at least I think in our opinion, they just straight up, these two, as Kocourek and Vogel, straight up told a narrative to keep them away, far away.
Totally confirms what liars they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
and I think that Glenn and Kelly would have tore them up if they had got to deposing.
Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a huge loss, in my opinion, of them not continuing forward. But I understand why they did.
You can see why they had to prevent it. They had to prevent those.
That's what I was thinking during Kocourek, is that he wouldn't have been able to just glibly say all those lies because they would have said, now, wait a minute, they would have shown it
Exactly.
the they were. Yeah.
Exactly.
Doc?
Yep.
I was going to say the only way to cover this up, the only way to make it go away is to pin Stephen on something so bad, so nefarious that only a murder was going to do that. And that's precisely what happened. Precisely
Yes.
what happened.
It
That's
would
right.
not have been easier to just kill Stephen Avery.
No.
No,
That would have brought
No.
big attention to them.
Yep. As Peterson so famously puked. Oh, boy.
Alrighty, I'm going to get us out of here unless you guys got something more to add. Any more comments?
I think I'm done.
I was going to say, get ready for the next reading with the crew. Right, Jack 60?
It's going to be a doozy. It sure is.
It's going to be
Going to be a ripper.
Yep.
It's going to be a rip, all right.
It sure is. Alrighty, we really appreciate everyone coming along and continuing through and reading some of this material. It's it's old, but again, the relevance to the case, it builds this more clear picture, at least for me, of the events of what happened then and how it related continuing on through the case. They're all tied together from 85 to this very day, in my opinion. It's all tied. So we'll do some more of these. I don't know when, but we will definitely get to some more of these of the depositions that have already been done. We can go back and read their statements, their interview that Strauss and Lehmann did, and then deposition wise, as I said, we will have hopefully at least a few of these that we haven't read yet. We'll have their statement as well. So with that said, I'm going to say thanks. Please like, share, and sub, and tell your friends. Get others interested. And this has been Foul Play Production.